Good evening, and welcome to the October 1st meeting of the Los Angeles Groves Town Council. We have the roll call, please.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
Vice Mayor Carroll.
Here.
Councilman Dawson.
Here.
Councilman Mann.
Here.
Councilman Rapid.
Here. If you stand for the pledge, remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, again, we ask for wisdom and guidance. We pray for wisdom for our national government as they're going through some tough decisions right now. We pray for those that are serving our country overseas. Keep them safe. We pray in your name. Amen. Amen. All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda if there are no changes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make 2 additions, and sorry about being late with it, but some of the information I needed I got this afternoon, and basically it's just for discussion only. Has to do with the, one of them would be discussion about vacant property registry, and in that would include going out to acquire management, which no decision would be made tonight. The other one would be vacant property at 2380 C Road.
All right, where do we need to put these? Mark?
Old business, I would think, now since we've discussed them before. Wherever you want to mark them, be fine.
Okay. All right, so it's going to be 10B through 10C. Okay, any other additions? Everybody all right with that on the council? It's just discussion and no motions. All right. Then I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ryan makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Moving to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for approval for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
For a second?
Second.
Okay, Ron makes a motion, second by Ryan. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes 5-0. Moving to public comments. I've got Keith Harris, and I've got Dennis Littner, and I've got Sharon Brown when she brings her card. Keith, go ahead.
Yes, Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. I speak as a private citizen. Town Council is currently, with weekly activity, considering a traffic light at D Road in Okeechobee. I appreciate the Council's concern for town safety and understand the rationale that the light may discourage cut-through traffic from using Okeechobee. I'd like to take it one step further. I'd like to ask the council consider the means of safely crossing Okeechobee for our equestrian community as well. I respectfully request your consideration to approve the placement of controlled equestrian crossings at the intersections of Okeechobee, B, and F roads. The request is consistent with policies 2.39, 2.74, and proposed amendment 2.44 of the town's comprehensive plan. The controlled crossings will also assist our significant bicycle traffic in crossing Okeechobee, and the controlled crossings will assist the traffic light in discouraging cut-through traffic. While the town's cost estimate for the traffic light is $250,000, the cost for solar-powered controlled crossing systems at the 2 locations is an estimated sum in the amount of $30,228 for an RRFB system, or $57,822 for a Hawk system. A motion was passed by council at September 17th meeting to have the town engineer evaluate estimated costs of the traffic light. The engineer may be required to obtain information from the county concerning the proposed scope of work. What perfect timing it is to also evaluate the estimated cost of a controlled crossing system and gain county input for their installation. Waxahachie Groves has to investigate and implement all strategies to defer the four-laning of Okeechobee Boulevard. The traffic light and the controlled equestrian crossing will help ensure the safety of our community and assist in the town's effort to reduce cut-through traffic on Okeechobee. I respectfully request that you pursue both projects simultaneously. And with regards to the backup on our comments, I'd like to give you a conceptual study package for your perusal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. Dennis Lip?
Motion to receive and file.
Second?
Second.
Second by Ron. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, receive your file. Dennis?
Good job, Keith. Yeah, Dennis Lip, North Road, comments tonight concern, although you have it on the agenda, concerns the Inspector General. As you know, if you read in the press, the Inspector General is under attack not only because of the lawsuit which threatens her budget, and just as an FYI, the current Inspector General for the school board's budget will exceed Ms. Steckler's budget should the school board decide to appropriately fund the Inspector General's budget. So that's just, just sort of, how this may weigh on things. I was part of a demonstration downtown on Monday. We had Commissioner Santa Maria there in his support, and I read that in the local post. But a very important date is coming up that I'd like for town management and for town council members to put on your to-do list, and that's November 21st. November 21st is the hearing date for the Inspector General Selection Committee. And I know several of you have received help from Commissioner Santa Maria due to your support for the IG. And I would wholeheartedly recommend that there are going to be two sets of public comment. One set of public comment is going to come from bodies like you, who are under the Inspector General's authority because you've chosen to do so. And others will be from, just the general public. I'll be speaking there as well, since I've been the subject of a Inspector General investigation and came out unscathed because we did nothing wrong. And so I'll be there speaking on that as well. But I would encourage, when you go to, if there's another League of Cities meeting between now and then, encourage your fellow members who are in this stupid lawsuit to come out as well to support the Inspector General. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Sharon Browning in Virginia.
Sharon Browning, 56 Lee Road. On the fun side of things, this coming Thursday, October 3rd, is Literacy Coalition's Read for the Record, an annual nationwide effort to have people read into elementary and preschool books. We have the pleasure this time of hosting the Literacy Coalition's big media event regarding that Read for the Record. And I just wanted to make sure you received your emails, that you knew you were invited, and that we would love to have you all there, as well as any from any residents that want to attend. But it is Thursday morning, 10 o'clock-ish, 9:30 for anybody coming to help and be there. First of all, at Everglades Farm Equipment. And then after that, the kids will be walking over to Farmer's Daughter to see the little animals and see the pumpkin patch and all through there. The reason that Literacy Coalition chose those locations were because the book that they're reading is called Otis by Lauren Long. It's a cute little story with a tractor and a little calf. And the little calf came our way too, so we're set for all the different little props. And this time there's no red pajamas. Instead, overalls, denim, whatever would be the choice for the day. But we would love to have any of you all there, and look forward to having that event hosted in our town on Waxahachie Groves. And I will get on to them because they printed up the bookmark. Special Storytime Celebration will be held at Everglades Farm Equipment, Southern Boulevard in Waxahachie Groves. Okay.
Someday they'll understand that. Virginia?
Virginia Standish, 15410 North Road. I'd just like to bring to the town council's attention that some landowners of B Road have been receiving a mailer asking if they'd like B Road paved. This seems to be selectively mailed out, and I'd like to bring to your attention and the Water District's attention, which I will do, that if we're going to go through this again, we will make an effort to make sure that all landowners are aware of this, and we will get the input of all landowners, and we're not going to play the game of, oh, we contacted everybody and only these people showed up. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Ken Johnson?
I'm here, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm here on two subjects, one of which Virginia just brought up that I was not aware of. I live on Collecting Canal, but I fall under the wings of B Road. We have not received any notification of anything going on B Road. Plus the fact, I believe there's an agreement with property there at, what's the name, Simon property, and the property right across the road, that they will be responsible for paving, putting in speed bumps, the whole deal on B Road. So why are we putting out something ahead of time when we've got two companies that are willing to pay for it? Am I not correct? Yes.
Ken, I believe the letter's going for North B Road, in other words, the
Oh, okay.
the
Well,
developers.
that I didn't know. I heard B Road and that just, you know,
Oh, you never know.
hit on. But talking about B Road, I've got one other subject about B Road. You know, I don't live too far from that intersection, and I see massive trucks crossing that bridge on B Road. And I'm talking about 40-foot trucks loaded down with sod. I'm talking about cement trucks. I'm talking about a lot of heavy trucks. My question is this. I would like to see when the last inspection was done on that bridge that crosses Collecting Canal on B Road. I mean, I just don't know how much damage those heavyweight trucks may be doing to that bridge. And I don't know the last time it was ever inspected. You know? So, the other thing that I had was the letter that was written by the LGLA president to the Inspector General concerning notification, and felt that the property owners in Waxahachie Groves should have been on this list. And, you know, that goes into the floor laning and what Keith brought up about the traffic lights and everything else. So I'm hoping that you folks will be involved with that problem. Last thing, but not least, I got my shirt on that. First of all, I would like to thank the town of Waxahachie Groves for the ham radio equipment, which consists of a dual band radio that will allow us to communicate if there's a disaster, which we hope there never is a disaster here, but allows us to communicate throughout the entire 8,000 acres we have here. We've put a 6-foot antenna on top of this 50-foot antenna out here. We've had one very successful test on that, going out to the outward corners of Waxahachie Groves. That's sort of test number one. Test number two will be if we can talk to the EOC down at Southern and Military Trail by simplex. And what I mean by simplex is two ways that ham radios can be used communication. One is simplex, point A to point B, and the other one is through a tower, which is known as a repeater. And you see these real tall towers all over the county. Well, most of those have repeaters on them that will pick up a signal. But anyway, we're going to try to do this simplex and see if the antenna's high enough. We know they've got a high enough antenna down there, and see if that works. Because in time of need, we as a town will need to talk to the EOC and or the EOA, which is a side group of the EOC. So in conjunction with that, we're in a recruiting mode for the SHRF team out here. We've got brochures, we've got little handy things that we're going to be putting around at different businesses because we're looking for new members. We're all volunteer, non-political search and rescue team, and that's how we've done it all along, and that's our mission statement. And so therefore, we're on to trying to bolster our numbers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
And if any of you folks want one of these things, we'll be more than glad to give it to you.
All right, we do have that issue regarding the road on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Moving to, there's no presentations. Moving to there's no committee reports, correct? Okay. Moving to 7A, ordinance 2013-05.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Council, this is the second reading public hearing of proposed ordinance 2013-05. Read the title, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Waxahachie Groves, Florida, amending Part 3 entitled Supplemental Regulations, Article 8 entitled Conditional Uses, Section 80-020 entitled Residential Enterprise of the Town of Waxahachie Groves Unified Land Development Code to permit a limited number of customers to transact business at a location of residential enterprise, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and effective date. We'll turn this over to Town Staff Administration for explanation, and we'll remind the Town Council that pursuant to your Unified Land Development Regulations, it will require a affirmative vote of 4 of the 5 council members to pass this ordinance this evening.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The staff report on ordinance 2013-05 is on page 60 through 65 of your agenda package, and the ordinance itself is on page 66 through 69. There was also an addendum number 1, which was sent out the day after the agenda. The only difference between the addendum and the staff report is there's a little bit more detail on the action taken by the ULDC advisory committee. Other than that, the staff report is exactly the same. The revision, the proposed revision is to section 80-20 residential enterprise of the ULDC, subsection H. 80-20H currently reads H, clients or customers. No client or customer shall be allowed on the premises to transact business of any nature. The proposed revision reads H, clients or customers. Up to 3 clients or customers may be present at the same time to transact business on premises. The Planning and Zoning Board met and discussed this item at their meeting on September 12th, and they recommended denial by a 5-0 vote. And at that time, they also recommended that the ULDC committee take up the item and review it and make any recommendations. the town council voted to approve the ordinance on first reading by a 5-0 vote at its meeting on September 17th, and also at that time directed the ordinance to be reviewed by the ULDC committee and be given high priority. The ULDC committee met on September 19th, and at their meeting, they voted unanimously to keep the language as it currently exists in the code. That is, no client or customer shall be allowed on the premises to transact business of the nature. Staff finds the proposed amendment consistent with the following three items. The initial directive of the town council, the intent and direction of the conference plan, and the review criteria for a zoning ordinance change presented in the ULDC. And on that basis, staff recommends approval of ordinance 15-05.
Mr. Mayor, I would point out that this is a public hearing, so you will probably get comment cards. No for the record and open each other to the public.
Okay. Any further presentation on this? All right, so shall I make a motion first and then discuss it?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before we consider motion, we have a comment to make, possibly change motion and.
Okay. All right, we'll discuss it first. We'll start off, Jim.
Yeah, in light of concern we are trying to work around in terms of P&Z objection, which has been pretty consistent, and us to try to solve the problem. My thought was that if we were to use the change that was made, it says up to 3 clients may be present, to change that slightly to say per day or during the day, it would really make it a restricted operation. I think it would eliminate the possibilities of us opening up to retail business throughout the communities, which would still solve, I think, the problem that we're solving in terms of it eliminates the foot traffic statement. And it's certainly based on information that was given, to cover real activity, because it's given us specifics as how many items actually transact during the year, which is very low numbers, I recall, and certainly within 3 clients customers. So in a spirit, I guess, of trying to reach a more restricted but our goal is to change that slightly and just go into per day situation.
All right. Any more comments on that? Robert?
Well, I'll speak for me because it's going to be kind of long-winded. The P&Z board and the ULDC board, I think both of them voted against it. Is that true, Jim? All right. The council has voted for it. I mentioned prior to this council meeting that this should not be called residential enterprise. We've got 2 classifications in the law statute. We've got home occupation and we've got residential enterprise. I happen to agree with Grace Joyce and a few other members on these committees that we are about to open a can of worms under residential enterprise. Now, I did some research because I kind of got tired of waiting because this has been going on for 7-8 months. And Bill Klein knows that I've probably fought for him more than anybody on this council, but we all agree that he deserves to sell his guns. But I talked with ATF for a couple hours, and they were the ones that actually put a stop to him. After I talked to them, they understood the whole situation a little bit better. They enforce Palm Beach County rules. Palm Beach County handles the unincorporated areas in Palm Beach County. Well, when I first started talking to ATF, they were telling me, you've got too many licensed gun dealers in Loxahatchee. I told them, I said, no, we've only got 1. And they said, no, you've got 10 other ones. And So I had them read me the addresses and stuff. Well, they happen to be out in the Loxahatchee acreage. They don't call it, as Sharon was saying, you know, we get classified as Loxahatchee. We're not Loxahatchee, we're Loxahatchee Groves. We've got one licensed gun dealer in Loxahatchee Groves. In the acreage, they've got acre and a quarter lots. I would not want a licensed gun dealer to be my neighbor. It's too dangerous, okay, too many people involved, traffic coming in or whatever. But they've had some major problems out in the acreage with, instead of doing internet services only, people are coming to the residence. Their first fine is $1,500, so I'll leave that at that. I called counties and cities that are basically somewhere like Loxahatchee Groves. The city of Port St. Lucie, I wanted to get in Highlands County are the two people that I contacted. These people basically came up, they allow gun sales in their towns, in their counties. And I've got a book about that thick with counties as when you start heading west, okay? Well, when you start heading west, Tallahassee, Mariana, you're gonna find out that they're probably more slack than the East Coast. But in St. Lucie County, they do not, it falls under home occupation. And their requirements is that the person that's doing this has to do it within his home, okay? He can't do it in his carport, he can't do it in his garage. They feel like that when it has to be specified in his living area, that you won't have an auto shop doing business in the living room or a bedroom. And they kept it very simple. And St. Lucie, the city of St. Lucie, basically felt the same as Highlands County. And just a couple, for instance, the use of in Highlands County, the only person allowed to do this is the homeowner or somebody of the residence. Okay, they've got a home, claim homestead, they've got to be living on the property. The use of the dwelling unit or mobile home for the home occupation shall be clearly incidental or subordinate to its use for residential purposes by its occupants. In Highland counties, no more than 100 square feet or 25% of the gross floor area. There shall be no change in the outside appearance of the building premises and other visible evidence of the conduct of such home occupation. A nameplate not exceeding 1 square foot in area may be mounted on the front of the house. Bill Klein, I never knew, and I've known him for over 20 years, I never knew he was a licensed gun dealer until he had a problem with the town, with ATF. Okay, I explained to ATF, a very nice young lady that runs that department and does the inspections here in Palm Beach County. When I got through explaining to her that all these other gun dealers was out in the acreage, and I explained to her that Bill has 10 acres, that basically nobody knows he's a licensed gun dealer, and that rather than do it in what we call an accessory building, that he would like to do it out of his home. When he approached us with his problems and stuff, it wasn't him that wanted to do it in an accessory building. For some reason, he thought that was the only way that he could do it. Now, the headaches for that, if I was going to the town for a license, when you talk about an accessory building, our code says that it's got to look like a home. It's going to cost him some money to make his accessory building kind of favor his home. When I told him that, I asked him how he felt about doing it in his home, he said, I'd love to do it in my home. It would make it a whole lot easier for me. Now, with Highlands County, they don't have anything about traffic, foot traffic. It says, no traffic shall be generated by such home occupation in greater volume than would normally be expected in a residential neighborhood. In St. Lucie, they basically said the same thing. They had a policy, though, a basic policy and understanding with the guns dealers that if they started having too much foot traffic, then it would be brought in front of the board and they would do something about it. But they allowed 2 people per day in St. Lucie, in the city of St. Lucie. Some of the other comments, and like I said, they kind of go with Highlands County, so I don't know if they work together on this or not, but no home occupation shall be conducted in any garage, carport, yard, or accessory building. In other words, Grace is right about something. When we start opening up accessory buildings, and here's where I don't have a problem with accessory buildings, and I would classify it as a residential enterprises. People selling hay and stuff, some of them have to sell it out of a accessory building.
Okay, hang on just a second, Ron. There's a white Nissan with lights on, and it needs to be moved. I don't know where it is. Somebody got a Nissan white one with the lights on, and it's in somebody's way. Okay. It's not hers, somebody else has got to put it. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
And they explained to me why they're putting garages and stuff to keep that from happening. No equipment, process, or use shall be conducted in such home occupation which creates noise, vibration, glare, fumes, odor, electrical interference, etc., etc. In other words, they thought about the safety factor. What I'm trying to do here is and Bill's probably going to be upset with me. This should have been done. I would like I believe if we went along with Highlands County and the city of St. Lucie, we went back to our P&Z board and our ULDCs, I believe that we would get a 5-0 and they would agree with this. It's just a common sense type approach. And it would work very well in Loxahatchee. It would not work well in the acreage. It would not work well in Wellington or Royal Palm Beach because of the acreage and the abundance of homes, next door neighbors and stuff. So I would recommend that we take it. I realize, I don't know if we would have to start all over, Mike, right? Help me out.
I was reaching for the microphone, sorry. Yes, if you want to change the home occupational license, the home occupation section, that's not even contemplated by this. It would need to be prepared, reviewed by P&Z, recommendations, just like we went through the second time and the first time on this one, and then bring it back. And you're looking for a timeline, even aggressively, probably January before it's finished. And it's your prerogative, Mr. Donahue, confirming your question. Yes, you have to start.
All right. And the other question, if we go with residential enterprise, could we change it at a later date? No, the best time is to do it right now if we're going to go with home occupation.
You can change the code at any time if you give direction to prepare it and consider it. About this, and in the next motion, direct us to make another change to it even. It's just, you have that prerogative. So if you want to move forward tonight and give direction on home occupation, you can do that. If you want to forego this and give direction to home occupation, you can do that. And stand ready to do whatever direction the council wants to give us.
Is there a prohibition right now on occupation for traffic?
I don't know if I have that in.
I'm pretty sure there is. All right, is there a way to find out and get back, so we actually know the answer there? Before we go off and spend find out if it's already not. But I, in agreement with what I'm saying, if that's almost the problem, and still allows residential enterprise to continue as it does now without muddying the waters, I think it's great.
Okay. Anybody else?
I heard something that you said, one of the cities, they had limited to 2 per day, which is kind of along the lines, we happen to have 3 at one time, and the only reason I chose 3 was to say it seemed like a small number of people that were customers at any one day, that could limit the scope of anything. If we were to make it, if it becomes part of the hay ordinance at the same time, it's defeating one purpose to solve the other. The hay deal was first, but we still haven't solved that. That was over here. Well, I was trying to get through this with the idea that we have an option, we can direct to do some other changes. But we were in a mode to move forward on number 3, and my point was, and kind of reinforced by what Ron was saying, that there are other similar kind of issues that have addressed this, and they've limited it to, in this case, 2. We might move forward tonight with adopting it with a change, and I think we can make the change, Mike, that I suggested, that without changing the fact that we already have first reading, and the change would be that we limit it to per day, rather than at any time. So we could still move this forward and adopt it, and then as a council, try to figure out what we want to do to further the next step, whether it be something in the home occupation area, but we could get it done and we could limit it. And it seems like it's something that's been adopted somewhere else, so they say it's per day. That would, I think, at least give us a compromise and say, we're trying to make it a very limited type of operation. You just can't have people walking in and out of there all day long. There's going to be a limit. And we could then move on with how do we want to change it further, but let's get it done tonight, something.
In answer to your question, you can amend that section if you wanted to increase, decrease the number, or change the time at which it would apply from the same time per day. You could do that. I think that changes the.
Okay, Ron?
The one outfit that I said, St. Lucie, the city of St. Lucie that allowed 2 people, and that was just like a standing policy. It was not in their code or their ordinance. In other words, basically, they were just like Highlands County. They did not specify. The strongest one that talked about foot traffic was the one that said that it would not exceed what the normal traffic in the neighborhood would be for somebody coming in your house or leaving your house. So both of them frowned on the idea of putting a limit on it, okay? Now, we put a limit of 3 people, and Mr. Klein didn't seem to care about that. But when I'm looking at home occupations, I'm looking at people that give piano lessons, people that teach, people that tutor. I don't even want to classify it as an enterprise, okay? When you say residential enterprise, I'm looking for something bigger than a person that sells guns out of his homes. It's restricted to a certain amount of foot traffic. These 2 people, and like I said, the Father West Chico and the state authority, they're going to probably be more lax than this, but they basically did not put a limit on foot traffic. Now, Mike, clarify one more time, because you sound like you had a good idea. If we approve this tonight, and if we came up, if P&Z and ULD like the common sense type approach for a rural area, then basically, even if Mr. Klein is allowed to get his license, it could also change for him. In other words, we could change him at a later date to home occupation.
Well, yeah, if you change the code and then somebody qualifies under that provision, they can elect to go under that as opposed to residential enterprise. Yes.
My biggest concern is he's waited over 8 months. ATF really, they wanted to enforce what Palm Beach County enforces, and they're doing an outstanding job. I don't have a problem with it. But basically, they understand Waxahachie Grove is a lot different than they did before. After I explained to them the circumstances and explained to them that the other 10 people weren't in Waxahachie Groves. So I do want to make this happen for Mr. Klein, so maybe we need to just go ahead and finalize it tonight and see if we can get with P&Z and ULDC and try to make it better in the future.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other council members?
If the council is willing to tighten it up a little bit, then the suggestion is that we go ahead and move forward with what we have, just change a couple words so it's a 3 per day. That's at least a step in the direction of limiting a lot of business kind of operations that don't have a lot of foot traffic. It's only an attempt to step closer to what we used to have, which was no foot traffic, and it's something that evidently our committees are concerned about turning away from the restriction.
All right,
I'm concerned that we're trying to do too much to dominate just one individual, especially stepping over 2 boards that have said not to do. And all with very good and sensible reasons. And to start to open the can of worms that everybody says it's going to do, influence lawsuits, encourage the good, sensible people coming from a lot of different perspectives saying that we ought to reconsider. Perhaps we should take the information that Ron has here, send it to the, to the ODC board to look at, and if they give a recommendation, that can go to P and Z and back, and yeah, it's gonna hold up Mr. Klein a little bit, but to just make a Band-Aid and change something, and who knows what that changes, and grandfather in once we make that change, because once we add it and we take it away, and they can say, oh, I was allowed to do that, now I'm gonna do it forever. Maybe he can wait a little longer, he isn't here tonight, so, I don't know, we have spent a lot of time on this, and a lot of people are telling us we're making mistakes, so I'm really not comfortable going forward with the Band-Aids. Let's put it to where people can agree to something. Which I would suggest.
All right, Mark, what does the home enterprise or the home business of that part say when you have something in your residence?
I'll just read it and I'll make a comment.
Yeah, it's under the definition of home office, and it says home offices shall preclude any business operation that requires or permits customers, patrons, or other employees to visit the dwelling or is conducted within any structure other than the primary residence. So that precludes any customers.
But at the time we put that together, it was to allow the person who was giving lessons, or was a CPA and had a person who came off their taxes. So I don't understand how that's
probably the better place for it to be.
Well, yeah.
In residential.
And I was under the assumption, talking to Bill, because I was thinking we could get it better under that than the accessory building, and I thought he kept coming back saying it had to be in a different building. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, just to clarify that, that was the only place we could slot him to allow him to do the operation at the time he came into the office. He couldn't qualify under the home, he could qualify under the residential enterprise provided, and he didn't allow the foot traffic, which was then picked up on by ATF. But let me just offer a couple of options for council. You may remember I provided council a memorandum as a result of a request from one member of the council back in April. And at that time, I was concerned about taking the action because I indicated that we would intend to came at a bad time to impact any mitigation and planning efforts on the utility rules. None of that established. But I think you do have options. And one of the options I recommended in that memo to you was we recognize that there are inherent problems in the code with both residential enterprise and homeowners. And one of the things that I suggested we could tackle it two ways. We could direct staff to kind of like along the lines of what the Vice Mayor was talking about tonight, was to look at the home office and look at residential enterprise and possibly make some adjustments there. We might even be talking about, and we talked about it with the ULDC and P&Z, we might even want to look at possibly doing a sliding scale related to home offices, depending upon the intensity and what types of uses you're going to allow in home offices. The other continuing effort that we have ongoing is also the historical legacy that was associated with the issue that came up under the Hayes List. So there are two different ways you can look at it. We can try to look at it under that historical legacy, although if it doesn't fit, I'm suggesting we might want to let staff look at the other option and see if there's any way that we could take this issue, make some sense out of it, so that, number one, it's fair to everybody, it protects everybody, doesn't put the town in a situation of making an ordinance change to simply take care of one person. So that's just some thought for council.
Okay, all right. And I like, several have spoken, have concerns when we've got two committees that we've chosen because of their knowledge and expertise, have all said unanimously that we shouldn't go forward with this. It's scary to put the town in jeopardy, for one person. As much as we like Bill and want to help him out, our responsibilities to the town as a whole, and so we have to be careful. All right. Before we have a motion, I've got several public comments. We'll do those now, and anybody else that wants to comment. Dennis Lip. And then John Ryan will be after Dennis.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Dennis Lip, serving as your chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board. I like what I heard from Councilman Gerald tonight. I think that's a good solution. I just pulled it up on my laptop, what the ordinances that we have right now for home occupation. It'd be very simple to put in what Mr. Gerald recommended, incidental to the home and not to exceed normal traffic within the neighborhood. I think language like that will apply right through P and Z, and I think that's the best option. I do not recommend that we change the residential enterprise to allow customers. Because we all know folks here in Waxahachie Groves see a little bitty opening in the door, and pretty soon it's a barn door driving trucks through. So, 6 of them. So, you know, that's just part of our town. So I think what we have works. So let's not try to tweak it for, even if it was for 10 people. I think if it was for 10 people, then we know we have a problem. So we got for one person, and I think just adopting the language that Roger pulled up would be a good.
Thank you, Dennis. John Ryan, and then I've got Ken Johnson.
John Ryan, 3508 A Road. I'd like to also endorse Ron Gerald's comments and Dennis's comments, give you a little more flavor. I have 3 pages of handwritten notes of a pretty thorough discussion with our ULDC committee on this. We were unanimous that this thing about customers and residential enterprise and accessory buildings is a sinkhole. We don't want to go in the middle of that. I think that one of our points of discussion was why do we have residential enterprise? We've got legacy businesses that can take care of certain anomalies, and let's work with home office as the way to adjust. We were also talking about alternatives for Billy Klein, and Beck Hyslop, of course, has a gun license in Red Barn, and perhaps if Bill is prevented from doing something immediately, given the gyrations we've got to go through. Beck mentioned possibly an arrangement, and I think this came up that the ATF people also said, well, you know, you can maybe run your sales through somebody else's license for a while. So I think that's an alternative. But I was going to refer you back to those March P&Z notes, March 14th, 2013. This, you know, when you start specifying numbers of customers, you can't enforce it. Grace Joyce brought that out as one point. And I think the problem, I mean, it's just commercial business, however you want to try and limit it. If you have an accessory building and you're inviting customers to come to the accessory building and do business. In an ag-res community, we can make accommodations for a lot of things, particularly with legacy businesses and with home occupation. Let's just drop section 8020, which is residential enterprise. It's going to be nothing but a nightmare. I guess those are the main things. I know Virginia Standish, who's the chairman of our ULDC, is here tonight if I've forgotten anything.
She's got parties.
I think the approach that Ron's taken, looking at some of these other communities and the way they've dealt with this, he has Tom's support. I hope he has a majority of the town council's support. And I think that tweaking residential enterprise is just inviting problems.
Thank you, John. Ken Johnson, and then Todd McClendon.
Mayor, I haven't heard the other 2 gentlemen speak. I need not to say it.
All right, thank you. Todd?
Todd McClendon, I agree with Ron also to cancel it. I mean, if you guys approved it tonight and want to change it later and make it more restrictive, you come into a problem like Tom pointed out, somebody could say their grandfather did. Hey, I put up in that 2-week window or whatever when it's approved, and I'm good to go. That's all I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Virginia Standish?
Virginia Standish speaking as the chair of the ULDC committee. John reiterated many of the points we discussed, and I would like to emphasize, as Jim Rocket was saying, the most important thing to us was the 3 customers at a time with no limit whatsoever. I mean, we're kind of wondering what kind of businesses we're encouraging in this town. Our minds were spinning. The other side of it also was that, I'm not joking, like you said, the barn door opens and they run with it.
Crowd's got it.
And the other side of it was also that we are a community and we understand the difficulties of trying to make a living. So we're not trying to restrict anyone, and we're open to alternatives. Some of the things that were even suggested, as John brought up and even Beth brought up, and I brought up, you have Southern Boulevard and you have Okeechobee Boulevard with retail businesses, and even why not have, you could also offer, there's alternatives to just having a co-op retail environment where members of the community can come and sell their wares. You have the internet. It just seems, the residential enterprise seems overkill, and it is also troubling that so much time and money has been spent technically on one individual, when he also really did have the option, he could have approached someone with an ATF license in a retail environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more comments? This is a public, any other comments? All right, I think I know where this is going to go. Do we need a motion, a second on this because it's on the agenda, right?
Yes, you need to take action on this. yeah.
We have to take action. Entertain a motion for this?
Is it appropriate to table this, or is that just a waste of time?
No, waste of time.
Well, you would table it, and then you do nothing, and then it would willow on the vine until you did a motion to bring it back.
Jim, I would suggest making the motion with your change, and let's throw it out there.
Okay, then we can kill it there.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah, after the motion second, I would understand.
All right, I'll make such a motion that we approve the ordinance with the revision that's 3 people or customers per day.
Okay, so second. Going once, going twice. Motion dies for lack of second. So moving on to the next item.
No, that was, oh,
Okay, now,
okay, wait, that was a motion to approve with an amendment?
Yeah, to approve with just the one change.
Or change
Okay, so you're not gonna vote down the ordinance? You're just gonna, it dies for lack of second?
Well, somebody can second it, we can vote for it, but, you know, what, as legal, what should we do?
I think you should close the book on this thing.
So have a second?
You know, at least have a vote, even if it's a vote to deny the ordinance.
Okay.
That way
And
we
it
have.
takes 4 to 1 to pass.
It takes 4 to 1 to pass, so even if it's a 3-2, it's not gonna pass.
Okay. All right.
It needs 4 to 1.
Ask for a second again.
I'll second.
Okay, Ryan seconds. Ron, you have some more discussion?
just one question. Now, Mark made a comment, we could direct staff to look at home occupations, okay? I don't want to direct them to look at home occupations. I want them to make this work under home occupations. With the information that you've got here, with your members getting together, and in other words, I don't want to spend 2 or 3 months while we discuss it again.
Okay, Tom?
One of the things that Mark told me he was going to be bringing up later is what are our recommendations that the ULDC committee ought to do. I think that's the answer
I think
to that.
that would be good.
And there's no where Ron wants it to go. Certainly,
I think
I
that's a good
understand
idea.
that's where we need to be.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, roll call vote?
Yes.
Councilman Ratcliffe? Pardon?
No?
Councilman Leeang?
No.
Councilman Paulson?
No.
Vice Mayor Tyrrell?
No.
Mayor Brown?
No. All right, fails 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to ordinance 2013-07. This is golf carts.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the town council, both ordinance. Sorry about that, folks. Ordinance 2013-07 07 is an ordinance relating to golf carts. I'll read the title for the record, and I'll go through what the changes would be. It's an ordinance of the town council of the town of Waxahachie, Groves, Florida, relating to the operation of golf carts on public roads within the town, providing for legislative findings, authorizing the operation of golf carts on public roads over which the town has traffic control jurisdiction pursuant to 316, section 316, 212 Florida statutes, confirming that golf carts may not be operated on or across the portions of Folsom Road, Okeechobee Boulevard, Southern Boulevards that lie within the town, prohibiting the operation of golf carts by unlicensed drivers, providing for implementation of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, severability, and effective date. It does provide for legislative findings, section 2, relating to the discussions that the town council has had about your belief that golf carts may be safely operated on the town roads. That section 3 authorizes the operation of them on the same list that you have for your gas tax, which is the public roads determined to be public within the town. Does prohibit the golf carts, the operation of golf carts by unlicensed drivers. That was a direction that is not in the statutes that we wanted to provide for within the town. And it does provide for prohibition of golf carts on or across Okeechobee, Southern, and Folsom. That you can discuss and give direction on if you're not comfortable with an outright prohibition. But I don't believe you have traffic control jurisdiction over Okeechobee or Southern. I'm not quite sure about any portion of Folsom, whether you do or you don't have traffic control jurisdiction. But because those are paved roads and they're through roads, I wasn't sure whether you wanted to provide for that or not. We can discuss that. And then with implementation, that means that there's going to have to be signs for state statute that we posted throughout the town to provide notice that golf carts are permitted. Those signs will have to specifically provide the additional requirement of the town council, should the town council adopt this, that unlicensed drivers are prohibited from operating the golf carts within the town. It's licensed drivers.
Let's open it up.
That's the ordinance.
All right, let's open it up for discussion. Bob?
I'd like to thank Mike for the job he did on this. The only change I would make would be the ability to cross Okeechobee, and sort of in keeping with Keith's idea. I did like his idea, and I'd like to see that looked at the roads committee and brought through the process. But that would be a good way, to get across Okeechobee if we felt that was the only way, and we have those particular through crossings, or the ability to cross as best as you can. Other times, I think it would be important because, otherwise we're just bisecting the town. Right. Other than that, I think we should be able to cross Okeechobee, and otherwise, good before we. Okay. I think this embodies what we talked about.
Yeah. Okay. Ron, anything else?
I think we're opening a can of worms, but I know it'd be nice to run around Waxahachie in a golf cart. I'm reading the state statute and stuff. Mike, did I hear you say that we wouldn't require a driver's license?
Yeah.
Or we would?
No, the town council directed the ordinance to be prepared that would prohibit unlicensed drivers from operating. Only licensed drivers could operate golf carts on the public roads in the town if this ordinance was adopted.
Now, in other words, if a young person had a restricted license and they would comply just like with a car. If a young person had a restricted license, they had their adult with them, then basically that would fall in the same category.
I think that would be a reasonable interpretation, because everyone's just creating that condition, so that's the way we would apply.
And we're only going to allow from sunrise to sunset.
That's what the state statute, unless you want to provide for that, and provide that as signage, and that kicks in additional requirements for the equipment.
It's too dangerous. It's dangerous enough during the daytime. I hate to talk about nighttime. The other thing is, are we going to try and get a cost estimate on this before we put it in? In other words, we've got to have signs by law. We've got to dedicate roads and stuff. So how soon can we have an estimated cost?
If you adopt this on first reading tonight, we'll have a cost estimate for the second reading.
All right, anybody else? Right.
I think it goes along the lines with what we were trying to intend for. I know I heard rumors that we were going to try to allow swamp buggies and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but
Okay.
that's not the case. So what that, I am pretty happy with this. I mean, I would be interested in seeing, asking Lieutenant Combs' opinion if it would be enforceable or not, or if he sees any issues with it, but other than that, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Anything? Jim?
Yeah. Mr. Can drop off his note. This ordinance is basically attempting to solve a problem which I don't think we have. I think as leaving things as is would be my preferred approach. The ordinance, I think, is more of a nice gesture to a few people in town that would like to use their golf carts on our roads. But have we considered the vast majority of residents who use our roads for their cars, pickups, small trucks, that now have a new hazard to contend with? Or the added liability, have we considered the added liability that comes with adding golf carts to the vehicles that have to share our narrow roads? We often talk about the fact that our roads are not required to be up to DOT standards, and that creates a higher safety risk. Adding golf carts won't make our roads safer, won't slow down traffic, but instead golf carts on our roads add a new risk to driving Loxahatchee Groves. Loxahatchee Groves is not set up as a senior citizen or golf course development. With separate paths set aside for golf carts to travel safely on. Where can you find in the state where there is shared use of common vehicular traffic with golf carts? Does anyone consider the requirements of enforcing the restrictions either specified by the council, that being a licensed driver, not going in Folsom, Okie, or Southern, or the state statutes, which have the requirement of travel restricted to daylight hours and equipment requirements? I don't think we've looked to what this really means in terms of, we're creating something that now we have to turn around and enforce. And who has made the determination that golf carts may safely travel across the roads and the roads? Who's done that? We're in an ordinance, we're saying that. Who's done it? What kind of studies do we have? What kind of information do we have that can be attested to? I can't. I haven't seen anything. And who will be confirming all golf carts are equipped with efficient brakes? Efficient brakes. Does that mean you drag your boot on the ground? Or you actually have a mechanical device that you use? How about reliable steering apparatus? Safe tires, a rear view mirror, and red reflectorized warning devices on both front and rear golf carts. That comes with us. We approve this ordinance, those go into effect. We don't have an option. That's part of the state statute. Then there's liability to come with this ordinance. Are we keeping our eye on how to limit our exposure due to enacting this ordinance? Everything in this ordinance should be geared to limiting our exposure because we're creating a new liability, as far as I can see it, for the town residents, town Loxahatchee Groves. Now, if we do pass this, then I think the road signs that we have to erect, not only do they have to include those things that are not in the state statute, but they need to include also those things that come from state statute that I mentioned before, rear mirror, et cetera, efficient brakes, and all those things. I think you can do it on a bullet type approach. I can't. I'm not comfortable relying on those that are operating golf carts who have read the Florida statute and know what those are. And if they have, I can't count on them remembering each time they go on a roadway. But if the interest is in that, our liability, if we remind people that this is the rule, this is what they have to do, would say that at least we've gone as far as we can, that I can think of, although I'd love more suggestions that would limit our liability because we're opening up this use on our roads. I just don't see how we're so safety-minded in so many things we talk about that we are doing this. And I don't see it as a groundswell issue. I don't see a lot of people needing to do it. And to me, it's nice to have. And we're imposing a lot of rules on residents and the community, which is kind of contrary to what we try to do.
Mr. Mayor, rather than impose rules, we're going to allow people to do additional things. And so I'll make a motion that we adopt this ordinance with the change that crossings be allowed on Okeechobee Road. And I think that the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department will be checking to see if people do understand what the rules are, just like they check to see if they understand the speed limit. So I think it's a lot of false arguments. But I would also like to ask, please, if I could, I will not be attending the meeting tonight due to some other arrangements. So I'd like to also add that the second reading, if we can have that in December, I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, we have a motion or a second.
Still open for discussion here.
We have a motion, second, and then we'll discuss.
Awesome.
Okay, Ryan seconds it. Mike?
Now, what I would appreciate is, if there's a motion a second, before you vote on it, I would need to read the title, because the title had specifically listed Okeechobee. I'd go back and reread the title without listing Okeechobee before you vote.
No, we won't. We're gonna keep discussing, and then I've got a bunch of public comments.
Okay.
All right. Is there something else you want to say?
Yeah, the one thing that you think I'm joking about is when we open our roads up for golf carts, we're gonna have a overflow of people coming from the acres, okay? And hopefully they'll have license to comply with our ordinance. The chances are they won't. And it's like Jim said, if you talk to an equestrian, you'll find out that when they ride a horse on our roads or wherever, it's getting very dangerous, because you got kids, you got adults, but they drive like maniacs, and they have no respect for equestrian on horses. And a horse kind of sticks out a little bit more than a golf cart does. And I work calls in the acres where kids were killed on golf carts, and most of them were at intersections where they thought they could get across and never get hit. So I have to agree with Jim, and you'll see it through my vote. I think it's great if we allow people to ride golf carts, but the liability of this town, I believe it will increase. My child was on a golf cart, and he ended up in one of our canals or got hit by somebody. I'm going to have a tendency to sue. You know, the loss of a child is probably the worst thing that can happen to you. And they will be kids. And you are putting extra load on PBSO. And if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Collins, you'll correct me. Because if they see somebody on a golf cart and it looks like a 10-year-old, I would expect them to definitely stop. Now, I wouldn't expect them to stop somebody that looked like they were grown or 16 or looked like they had a license. But no, if they see a child on a golf cart shooting from one place to another, I expect them to stop them and check them out. And I do believe that theft will increase in the town of Loxahatchee Groves. I've already experienced personal experience where four-wheelers and golf carts broke into my place, and nice and quiet, you can't hear them. But that's just where I stand on it. That's my last comment.
Okay, and I didn't make any comments the first time. I don't see this as a big thing. Right now, you're allowed to ride a horse down any of our roads. I liked it when we used to do that a lot, because it was a traffic calming device. We are allowed to drive a farm tractor down our roads. It's legal right now. You can do it. You can drive a mule. If you have a nursery, you can drive the mule down the road. You know, I've got several nurseries on D Road. They come by with a little Kubota, 4 mile an hour maybe, through 3 wagons. That's legal in Loxahatchee Groves. Maybe what we need to do is begin to change things to where people driving through realize that our community is a community. You know, I don't see the big deal. The safety stuff on a golf cart, we don't have safety inspections on our cars right now. There's nobody out there anymore, they did it one time, that says you got to show up once a year Anybody that remembers that, it's a pain in the butt. You gotta go down there once a year and check your turn signals and your tires and your exhaust, and it just made you pay for a visit to a mechanic. So I really don't see the problem. One of the things I think if we had a sign, I think we need to include all that stuff. Equestrian, we are an ag community. We allow people to ride golf carts with licenses. Therefore, if you're driving our roads, respect our community and give us the room to do it. And the other thing that I would like to do, and I didn't see it on any of the others, but limit it to the number of seats, because some of the stuff that Ron, I used to see it in the acreage too. You'd see 12 kids piled onto a golf cart. That is not my intention. You know, my intention is not for letting those 12 kids ride on a golf cart and cruise through our community looking for another to steal. I'm looking for something that if a family wanted to get on their golf cart and ride down to their neighbors in the evening and visit, that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, I'm not looking for a major change in Loch Setchie Groves. I mean, and I think we can do it without that. And I'm sure hoping so. We might have to revisit this later on, but like I say, right now, horses, tractors, gators, everything else can get on the road, and bicycles, and I think golf carts driven by licensed drivers are all right. But anyway, so we have a motion and a second. I've got a lot of cards for discussion. John Ryan?
You want to modify that motion to include your restrictions?
I think we're going to have to discuss signage and things like that a little later, right?
Well, if you want, if you had indicated you wanted to put something in there about limiting the number of riders, you would have to do that as part of adopting it tonight, and add some language to the title as well.
Okay.
So when you get to that
We
point,
can make amendment.
you amend the motion to include something.
All right, John?
John Ryan, 3508 Day Road. I do tend to agree with Ron and Jim in their approach to this. I think we're opening a can of worms. We've identified the ordinance as in accordance with Florida Statute 316.212. 316.212 was explained and quoted in the memorandum to the town council from, I believe, Mike Cirillo on August 6th. Very comprehensive memo. Basically incorporate parts of the statute that said the golf carts must be equipped with headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and a windshield, and that, as Jim said, efficient brakes, reliable steering apparatus, safe tires, a rear view mirror, red reflector eyes, warning devices. I don't know of any golf cart in Loch Setchie Groves that complies with this. I mean, I've never seen one. And I don't think that riding on our roads would be safe with kids doing the driving and encountering everything from cars to large trucks. I don't think we have the ability to enforce the restrictions that are in the statute. And it's just, I think, not going to be realistic in terms of enforcing it. And we're going to incur additional costs. And I do think that the chances of a terrible accident are significant enough that we really don't need to play games with something like this.
Okay, Frank Shell.
Frank Shell, Marcel Boulevard. I mow grass over in Wellington, and that's all I see on the dirt roads over there is golf carts. That's an equestrian community over there in that one section. That's how people move from one barn to another. If you're looking at Loch Setchie Roads right now, we're changing. More barns are popping up literally overnight. And this is turning from an agricultural community to agricultural, residential, equestrian community. And a lot of equestrians, if they are, especially trainers and people that are exercisers, move from one barn to another. A lot of them, it's easier for them to get in a golf cart, throw their saddle in there, and move on over. I really don't see that many kids out here on these golf carts. I see them on the ATVs. That's where I see them at, because they go fast. And kids love fast. So whether or not you go and you vote on this or not, I don't have a golf cart, I don't have a mule, I have a tractor. It doesn't bother me either way. But if you are, probably include Folsom Road, the dirt part, just after Crane Park. No, Compton Road. And that part, because that is a district maintained road over there. I think that would be the only change on there. This is where we're heading to. I have a farm right around the corner of me that just got built. One on Collective Gallery being built right now. Another 10 acres just got cleared over on C Road, a little bit north of Collective Gallery. They're planning to put a barn in there and possibly 2 barns in there. So these, if we're going to go in and welcome equestrians into our area that are going to come in and they're going to be taking these properties and these old nurseries and all that, cleaning them up, making them look good, and they're going to be benefiting our community, we need to go ahead and go along with the rest of this. It works in Wellington. Yes, I mean, people are going to get, if they're on a golf cart, they could get hit. It happens anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you're responsible and you're looking out for what you're doing, you really shouldn't have a problem.
Thank you, Frank. Dennis Cliff?
Frank brings up some good points. I think the whole responsibility thing is a key here. But picture in your mind's eye going down one of our ocean roads with great big diamond signs with big reflectors on it. And lo and behold, right on the other side of that big reflector that our headlights could not pick up were 2 kids in a golf cart without any reflectors or lights, and I almost went into the canal trying to avoid it. That's our problem. You pass this, and all of a sudden it's okay for Junior to go out and drive a golf cart. We saw what happened when a kid was driving, with the dad sitting in the seat next to him, driving a Jeep. They went into the canal and killed the family. We're not talking about, quaint little villages here. This is not the villages. This is not a golf course community. We don't have people in condos that get in their little golf cart to drive over and pick up their clubs and go out and play around. These are washboard roads. How many times have we had automobiles going 30 miles an hour on the washboard road go into the canal? How many times have we seen a dump truck going down at whatever speed they go in, they get their car locked into that little berm, and they're in the canal? I got pictures of these. So we're on a very slippery slope here because we say okay to this. And, the ATV things, I go out for a walk almost every morning, and there's a guy on my route who goes out and takes his ATV for a spin. I guess it's a health thing. And he's not allowed. And then we got the golf carts zipping up and down. I've probably seen more golf carts and ATVs on the F Road equestrian trail than I have horses. And that's a fact. So I think that we talk about this, isn't it nice, quaint little Washington roads, we can run down the Sierra River. Dave Running, was you run down the Sierra River on no problem. We got a 16-year-old, got a license. Man, I'm going to take that thing out and see what I can do.
Thank you, Dennis. Ken Johnson?
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, as I stated before in the meeting that we had, and I think I read it out of the book back there, I think we're opening ourselves up to a can of worms. I completely concur with what Councilman Rocket said and what Councilman Darrell said. One, you have a cost of science. How many languages are those going to be learned? Well, we've got X amount of people in this community that know habla English. Some do. So I think it has to be more the language. Two, I think we've got a horrendous liability issue, like people have already attested to. I think three, what was mentioned up here was, who's going to check out these vehicles? It's very good cars don't have it anymore. But at least you're in a car, and you got a seatbelt on, hopefully. And you know, you have a wreck, you got some protection. Somebody hits somebody's kid, whatever, even if it's an adult that gets killed, that's a human being that we have killed, and that's a liability. Plus, if I understand Lieutenant Combs and the PBSO, if the people in that golf cart, whatever, decide to run, not stop when his officers try to stop them, they will not chase them. Is that not correct? I believe you said that's not correct, but that's correct. Yeah. So, I mean, we're just opening a can of worms that is horrendous. Plus the fact, Virginia Standish just got up here a few minutes ago and talked about the fact that if you open the door in Waxahachie Groves that far so you can see daylight through it, everybody in that brother will say, gee, that must include me. I want to do that. So I think we're just opening an issue that doesn't need to be opened. I think it's going to cost the rest of us that are paying our taxes for a horrendous lawsuit if somebody gets maimed, injured, killed out there on our roads. And our roads aren't the greatest roads in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I got a real quick question for you though. Which is harder to see, a bicycle or a golf cart? I don't want it to sound like I don't care about lives, but you know, every morning I've got 25 bicycles that ride by my house, and I have a concern about them too. And I probably have less concern about a father and his kid on a golf cart than I do all the people on bicycles. And I'm telling you, they don't all have licenses or lights and reflectors or anything else. And you go around that sign at night, it's reflecting. I don't like them either, Dennis, but you see that bicycle there, and you're in the same, we're in the same boat. So anyway, all right, Ann Parker?
Well, I can understand some of council's reasoning, and I can understand the rest of the council's reasoning. But it seems like when we first started this, very seldom, I mean, occasionally, usually on the weekend, but now I'm home a little bit more, and the golf carts, what do you call them now, the all-terrain vehicles?
Yeah, no, we're not talking about, but go ahead.
You know, the little bit bigger than a golf cart, a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was, where did they all come from? I have a lot of them. That's what concerns me. If you say golf carts, then it's going to be all the others. And in my neighborhood, there's only like 3 people I know that have golf carts. But I've seen them out on the road, and you got a golf cart here, and our specialists like to come out. And it's not wide enough for another person, another vehicle and that golf cart. Because a lot of them just, just keep going. And I don't, to my opinion, I think it's going to cause a lot of problems. But then again, no, but to my opinion, I don't think so.
Thank you, Ann. All right. Any further? We've got a motion and a second. We want to amend this regarding signage and other rules.
Well, right now your motion was to approve and striking the prohibition out of the code. If you had discussed, Mr. Mayor, about limiting the number of riders on golf carts, if you wanted to provide that as an additional limitation in your ordinance, you would need to amend the motion to include that amendment as well.
All right. Does anybody think of any more that we would need to add?
But remember, everything you add will have to go on the sign. That is required to go on the sign. Anything that's not in the state statute. So, for example, right now you would have golf carts permitted on town roads, licensed drivers only, riders limited to, and I was going to suggest the number of seats, one rider per seat on the golf cart. But that's just an operational issue. I will point that out.
Real quick, I want to clarify
Okay.
And I think the idea of tying it together with what Keith was talking about, maybe in horse crossings, I know that Wellington has several. If you go down to Finks Forest, they have several golf cart crossings. They're just signs that say golf cart crossing. But anyway. All right, we have a motion and a second.
Make a change.
Okay.
Is that added to the motion?
No, it hasn't been yet.
No, we have a motion for the original motion.
How, when do you add that?
Before you vote on
You
it.
can amend it now.
Before you vote on the motion, right?
They're friendly, but.
Right.
Yeah, if somebody wants to make an amendment right now, they can.
All right, well, I'll amend to say that since it's my motion, I'll amend it to say that they're limited to the number of seats, the amount of riders are limited to the number of seats available. And what was the other issue? The crossing of Okeechobee?
Just allow the crossing.
We allow crossings in Okeechobee at the letter roads. So you can't just cross wherever.
All right, you're all right with that?
We were on whatever the state law says. We allowed nighttime, and we didn't allow nighttime.
No, we didn't allow nighttime.
So all the headlights and all that stuff.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion?
I'm on this comment. I didn't appreciate Mr. Colson's comment about making false arguments. He may not agree with what I say, or anybody else in the council, but I did not make any false arguments. Those comments were mine, I have a right to make. Those are arguments I think council should consider, and I'm sure they did. And they decided what they wanted to do.
I'll take that word back and change it to frivolous. We'll proceed.
Be civil. All right, we have a motion and a second. Anything else?
Now, what I need to do before you vote, you don't, because you clarified that it's not allowing it on Okeechobee, you're only going to permit it across Okeechobee. That portion of the title doesn't need to be changed, but you're adding limitations. So what I'm going to do is reread the title with the new limitations, and then the verbiage will, if it passes, the verbiage, the text will be changed to reflect the change of Okeechobee. An ordinance of the town council, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Waxahachie goes forward relating to the operation of golf carts on public roads within the town, providing for legislative findings, authorizing the operation of golf carts on public roads over which the town has traffic control jurisdiction pursuant to section 316.212 of the statute, confirming the golf course may not be operated on or across certain portions of Folsom Road, Okeechobee Boulevard, and Southern Boulevard supply within the town, prohibiting the operation of golf carts by unlicensed drivers, limiting the number of riders on golf carts, providing for implementation of this ordinance, providing for conflict, severability, and impact of state. Section 5 will be amended to have the prohibition as to Okeechobee, only as to riding on Okeechobee. Remember, the county has traffic control jurisdiction on that, so even if you allow it across, they may come back and say it's our road, we're not going to permit it, but at least you're not taking that action here. And then section 6, a new section 6 should be added to limit the number of riders to the number of seats on a golf cart. And the rest of the members will be paragraphs of reading.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. So roll call.
Roll call. Aye.
Councilman Goldstein?
Aye.
Councilman Ryan?
Yes.
Deanne, sorry. Councilman Rackett?
No?
Vice Mayor Turo?
No.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Motion passes.
And unless you say otherwise, the second reading will be scheduled for the December 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th meeting.
Good deal. Let's take a quick break. 5 minutes.
Nobody lost weight.
Probably not.
He just didn't eat something.
I just didn't need to find a little kid on the road to eat him on the way over here.
Yes, how you doing?
I didn't know who you were. Where at first I saw you here all day. Thank you. Keep it up. I don't know how you're doing.
Bring her behind here.
You leave? Get it? What do you?
He was just saying it was all right for the ride.
Like he said, I think
All right, moving to the administrative update. Mark?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to go in the order, a little bit of reverse order. I want to say the IGC update. The first item I wanted to touch upon is ULDC review committee update and request items for further review. We've had some discussion tonight. What we've done is the last ULDC committee meeting, they agreed to potentially hold 2 meetings in October, on the 3rd and the 17th, 2 in November, and see in December. But we think that should be enough time to finish up all the remaining items. So it's critical now, if the council has any additional items that they think the ULDC review committee needs to look at, please get them to me or give them to me tonight so I can go ahead and start scheduling these discussions with the committee.
Okay. Anybody have anything they want to add? We brought up the one tonight, and obviously we want to.
We'll talk about that again.
Yes.
Later than we did last time.
All right, anybody else? If you do, get them to Mark.
Yes, please, as soon as you can. Appreciate it. On October 10th, the Planning and Zoning Board will be having their meeting. One of the items that was continued was the plan amendment to the capital improvements element. This is the element that takes care of all our issues and capital improvement issues as it relates to scheduling of the 5-cent money. However, at their last meeting, they indicated some comments from some folks at the recreation, at the road, equestrian trails, and greenways committee. And then last month, September 26th, I believe to be exact, the roadway committee also reviewed this item. So both committees basically agreed it's a planned and zoning meeting primarily, but some of those members of the roadway committee are going to attend the meeting and also provide input so they can talk about issues related to both boards as it relates to moving the amendment forward. We have explained the idea and what the amendment is for, but we can also accommodate some minor comments that we don't think impact the amendment keeps it moving forward. So hopefully at this meeting, the P&Z board will be able, as acting as the LPO, will be able to make a comment information and move forward, but they are going to be getting those additional comments from the roadway committee. I did report to you at...
Mark, can you please go back and tell me what you're referencing now? An amendment?
This is the amendment to the comprehensive plan to the capital improvements element.
All right, and
Remember, we did it in 2 phases. We sent the schedule up to the state to have our CIP in place. And this is the second part of the amendment, which does all the textual comments and memorializes those schedules, et cetera, into the plan.
do you have any kind of draft of what you're looking at already?
Sure, we have, it's available, we can get it if you need it, you can see it.
So I'm not following what you're doing. I thought you were drafting a capital element, and you did that, or you were in the process.
One of the things you may remember is our plan did not have any reference to any capital improvements whatsoever. Taking some of the chapter we even said we're not doing it.
And you were putting that together, and you guys were trying to accelerate that.
And we did accelerate it by sending the schedule, which you can do on a yearly basis, and pretty much DEO files it away, they file it. But we still had to incorporate the amendments into the actual textual matter of the comprehensive plan. It actually affects 4 elements, Chairman Fellow? 4 elements. Primarily the capital improvements the most, and then some of the other elements.
And that's something that the ULDC committee is reviewing, or you're just...
Not ULDC, P&Z.
P&Z is reviewing?
P&Z as sitting as the local planning agency. And they tabled it so that the roadway committee could look at it, because they had asked for some chance to get some comments. So we did take it to the roadway committee, even though it's not really within their jurisdiction, but so they could give their on the amendment. And then the P&Z graciously agreed to have another meeting in which the roadway members are invited to attend, and they can have some cross-discussion and then move the amendment forward.
Do you have a draft of that amendment at this point? Can I have you send it to the council?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is just an update. As you know, I reported to you last meeting that the staff and Mr. Yee had a meeting on September 6th relative to some of the issues in the center. Mr. Yee has not gotten back to me since that point, so we're going to be approaching the month. So I wanted to just advise council what I'll probably be doing is just good drafting him a letter and giving him a time frame to probably 15 days or so to get back and indicate to us how he's going to proceed or what he intends to do. Just want to make sure you find that. That's all. Next item I wanted to update you on is the fact I met with the Simmons and White, our traffic engineers, relative to the Okeechobee Boulevard D Road signal. Basically, what I indicated to them was that town council was interested in a study, a cost study, which would try to, clarify some of these issues as it relates to cost. So I explained to them that, I wanted them to look into the fact that the county was looking at us doing a mass storm. The council's preference was a wire signal. I asked them to, basically break it down and give us an estimate as to what it would cost with the design, installation of the signal, and I asked them as best as they could to attempt to verify for us, in coordination with the county, what the actual site improvements that the county's talking about are going to be. To cost that out for us so we know what we're looking at as a total cost package. I asked them to give me a proposal on what it would cost just to do that study, to identify the costs, and if I felt it was reasonable, then I would move with a notice to proceed with them and get that moving forward. So, having given you that update, does that sound like we're all on the same wavelength, same track as far as how I'm moving?
So this question would be, there's no progress on that request to them yet. Back to.
No, I met with them, they're gonna get me something back, I don't have it, they're gonna give me a proposal as to what it's gonna cost them, just to do the cost study.
Now, you may or may not be aware of the traffic signal, cable signal that was just erected over just off of Folsom on, I guess it's Crestwood.
I am aware of it. In fact, our engineers have a hand in it.
Okay, because that roadway is much wider than what we were looking for.
My understanding from the limited discussion I had on that with them is the county also wanted a mast arm there. If they were able to, and I don't know what criteria they used to get the county to reconsider, but they were able to get the county to reconsider on that one.
Well, it sounds like if they had the same people that we're dealing with now, they had a hand in it,
They were involved.
then they know how to maybe get that done. And as I understand, I asked Frank Shiel, because his children go, I guess, to that school, that he said that he knew the cost was like $275,000. I don't know what that entailed, but maybe of interest that we find out.
Well, remember, I said to you, the cost that I was told, and informally in ballpark, was that to design and install was roughly about $250,000.
Right,
What we currently have budgeted.
it sounds like it's in the ballpark of 275. I just didn't know if you're aware of that.
I think the key factor is to find out and ask them, they do have the contacts and they work with the county on this, they are one of the county's contractors for signalization. I really want them to try to identify for us so we have an idea of what the site improvements are that the county's asking for. But I think those are the ones that have the ability to escalate and make it a very expensive project.
I understand, but what I'm looking at is if the signal just went in and it's a cable signal, and the county wants mast arm, and it's not, then you can follow that same logic or reasoning and get it to be accepted as and I think the intersection improvements may very well be largely dependent on the mast arm. So, I mean, it'd be almost like the approach is, well, this is what we want, this is what you guys allow here, how much does it cost, rather than discuss what the alternative is, because we've already said there's no alternative as far as we're concerned.
Well, I made it clear that the council would prefer a wire signal, so they're going to work it from that aspect. So I mean, I think you can feel secure that they're going to look at that in our best interest as it relates to that particular issue.
I would have said it much differently, but if we say strongly prefer, in essence, we said only, but strongly prefer, we're trying not to bully the bigger guy in the block.
I think
It sounds like you've got.
They understand, they got the message.
You've got the right people, they're involved, they understand, they've got some experience with something that just happened, and it was interesting that just happened. And that we can hopefully use them. And All right. Well, I was just asking what else.
Hopefully by, I'll have their proposal soon, and it'll be, in the ballpark that I can just go ahead and issue a notice to proceed and be able to report back to you in November. Around that path of doing it.
It's interesting, if that's 275, and it goes across 6 lanes plus a median with 6 lights. If you look at it, there's 3 going each direction. And we're looking for a cable mount with 1 light. It would seem to me that it would be a whole lot cheaper than 250.
Okay. The last item, and Mike will probably join me in part of this, I wanted to report on the IGC meeting we had on Friday. Basically, we have a couple of new items, not really new items, it kind of relates to some extent to the road discussion we've been having. But John Ryan, representing the Water Control Board of Supervisors, we did have a discussion on the status of Southern States Land and Timber, the quitclaim deeds for the Ocean Road. As you know, the representative from Southern States was here, and Mr. Yowie and Mr. Ryan had a chance to escort him through the town. So we discussed that. We also discussed the local bill for the remaining district roads. And that's something that I believe is going to the Water Control District at their next meeting, and then will be coming here for discussion. We also heard a presentation from Nina Corning, chair of the Wasatch Groves Roadway, Equestrian Trails and Greenway Advisory Committee. And she wanted to talk to, especially water control members as it relates to the issue of the trail system in the future and water control district right-of-ways and how everybody can work together to make sure that, we can make these trails work and not cause problems or liability issues, etc. And we did have a discussion relative to drainage on North A Road, relative to 2 properties. And the IGC agreed that basically it's a matter that Mr. Yowie and I can continue to work out on an annual basis. He'll get with me and we'll look at each situation as it relates right now to some of those matters. We did set the date of our next meeting for October 25th, 2013. But in all of those discussions, all those items I just talked to you about, one of the discussions that we had was relative to B Road and improvements of B Road by the developers. We've had several meetings in which the town planner, town attorney, and I attended, and some of those meetings go back even before the town attorney was involved. Basically, the state, the representatives of Waxahachie Groves Center and Waxahachie Groves Commons have been working internally to determine their proportional shares of the improvements that they would be making as a result of the developments. And they have now gotten to that point. As I had advised you in previous meetings, right now the date we're looking to bring the finalization of the P&D matters is the first meeting in November. And right now everything seems to be on course for that, so we look for those to be 2 of the items. However, there is a number of issues related to the B Road improvements, and the IGC committee, in our limited discussions, because we didn't get into depth as the meetings that we were involved with, but they sort of, the feeling was that probably we should be looking at trying to have potentially either a workshop or a special meeting if any kind of actions are needed, maybe in mid to late October. Joint meeting with the Water Control District, supervisors, town council, and obviously inviting the developers to also take part in that discussion. And I think at this point, maybe so I don't hog it on Mike, let me segue to him, and then we'll both continue to update you on what's happening with the matter.
Well, what I was going to point out for C Road, and it does relate to the proposed development. One, as you know, during the land use amendment process, there were commitments made to do improvements in B Road from Southern Boulevard up to Okeechobee. And in discussions with the developer, it's clear that at least the portion of the road that connects with Southern to some part up north along B Road, right now to the entrance to the college on the plan, would have to be constructed and designed to FDOT standards, since it's intersection with Southern, and the developers were going to design and fund that and construct that. For the improvements north of that, which were designated to be similar to the letter roads, Ocean, from that point north to Okeechobee, the concept's going to be that the developers, the district, and the town would work on the cost figures for that, and those 3 property owners would provide the funds for either the town or the district to do the design and construction work of the remaining part B, including a connecting canal intersection there up to Okeechobee. So that's going to be part of the proposal that you see along with the PUD zoning application, which again, remind you, we'll have 2 public hearings, the first of which is coming on November 5th. So just want to let you know that that's the concept that we discussed with the developers, where they would design and construct the part that's connecting the southern, and the remainder, there'll be some funds set up to pay for design and construction, which would be undertaken by either the town or the district. That to be determined at some future time.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions?
That was going to be a report, so you've got my report now.
Ron?
My problem is, I don't like the idea of them worried about the college, not worried about our residents. Now, if I'm correct, we may have to go to legislature to take care of the business of, from Collecting Canal to Okeechobee. Is that true?
Well, I don't know
How
what
we
we
solve
have to do, but there's issues relating to the road, right, just like the other letter roads in town.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure those issues will have to go in front of the legislature. Now, the longer we wait to, I think November, they start taking in, John might know better than me, but I believe to get it for the legislation that would be passed in March, we would have to have something in Tallahassee in November. Now, Mary Volator has already been through this process with the 4 roads that we owed. If we're going to be doing the same thing with North B Road that we've done with the 4 roads, this council needs to direct that we set it up for legislature, working with Mike and Mary to get this process on the ball. Because I don't like the idea of the developer saying that he'll go from Southern to the entrance to the college. That's about halfway between Southern and Collecting Canal. Therefore, our residents are shafted again. Now, we've agreed that from Collecting Canal to Southern Boulevard is going to be pavement, preferably sidewalks and everything else that will go on the college side. So there shouldn't be any question about them telling us that they're willing to go halfway down B Road. Now, this council needs to stand up and tell them that they're going to go all the way to Collecting Canal. And we've got the problem with what kind of crossing we're going to have, whether it's going to be culvert, whether it's going to be bridge. So we need to be working. I'm assuming we're working on that now. So, but no, that's how I feel on the pavement and stuff and South B Road. You know, one way or the other, we need to get it done. And if they're going to put the money into an escrow account, basically, they're giving that money to us, I would think, for us to do the road. So it's hard for me to understand that if they put it in, if they set it aside in the escrow account, why we can't go ahead and get the road done.
Just a note for council, I wanted to get clarification. The only reason why the proposal was not to have asphalt all the way to Collecting was apparently it was asked to have that transition from Ocean from the rendezvous to Collecting and then up to Okeechobee by the former administrator of one of the proposals. I don't know if it was what I understood it was total.
From Collecting to Okeechobee, right?
No, from the entrances of the 2 developments up to.
Okay, well, that needs to be changed because from Collecting Canal to Southern Boulevard, and the administrator's not here anymore. Okay, and there's no canals to worry about. And the only reason we use Ocean for 2 reasons. First of all, to cut the cost, and because we have canals in Loxhatch, and that's the only way we can put down a paved road. So somehow, some way, we need to correct that. They need to go all the way from Southern, unless the other council members disagree. They need to go all the way to Southern to Collecting Canal with pavement and a sidewalk, and then we'll pick it up from there and do Ocean to Okeechobee Boulevard.
Okay, any other council members on this particular concern?
We're not looking for any action, but.
No, I know. My biggest concern with that, Ron, is where we make the transition. If it's DOT to the bridge, and then all of a sudden at our bridge it changes to Ocean, to me, that would seem to be more of a safety hazard than if it was, the transition was made between Southern and Collecting Canal, just from a safety standpoint.
And Mayor, let me stand corrected. I just wanted one thing I failed to tell you. Jim has also reminded me that also both the P&Z And the roadways committee also had asked the developers to have that transition erosion from the entrances of developments to collecting canal as opposed to having,
Okay.
asphalt all the way up. Just that's
And
information.
that was the only concern I've got is that transition. We talked about that when we did North Road, because we didn't want people transitioning from the ozone to the dirt to the ozone. And, so that's my only concern, but I'm not an engineer, so it doesn't matter. Tom, you got anything? Okay. All right.
So you've got my report.
And we may be needing to try to set up a meeting, and I'll obviously keep you all informed as we progress.
Well, one thing we did talk about at UIDC was having a meeting, as Mark did say, in October to formulate if there is a need, not only for this B road issue, but the remaining letter roads. So that, we would have the three things we discussed was to have the surveys of the area that's been maintained go basically from the east side of the road to the west side of the canal. Not to the west edge of the canal, but to the west side of the load area of the canal. So the entire area would be taken in and recognized. That the areas outside the deed would only be easements rather than taken. And that there'd be a statement made that this would be sufficient for collection of gas tax. So there's no question relative to that, and it would be sufficient for grants. So there would be no question of that. We would ask for those things, is what was discussed at the meeting with Mr. Good and myself. And so what we're looking for, and not want to break the rules, I told him, I can't put anything on the agenda because it was Friday. But I don't know if there's a way for us to decide to do that sometime this October. This year. It's been a year since our last joint meeting. And in addition to just this B road issue, it's the local bill issue that John was going to resolve this year. That'll be next.
If we have anything like that that needs a council, we just need to put it on the agenda and we'll bring it up for a vote and do our part.
And that's why I suggested that the meeting later in October might be a special meeting as opposed to a workshop in case we have to take some time back, formal action.
Okay, I mean, that's probably a good idea. Jim?
Mike, is that your report embedded in this conversation?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the conversations we had about the developer, about the funding of the B road and the portions that they're going to construct. I just wanted to put.
We'll bring that up later. Anything else you might have?
That was it. That was
All
going to be
right,
it.
we're talking about, kind of jumping in, your report. We have successfully transferred the 4 letter roads,
Yes, we have.
and that's been recorded.
That was recorded last week, before the 30th.
So that's been done, as you had said would happen.
Yes.
So you did that. No matter what happened, you got it done. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
While we're talking about the roads and the college, I had a call from Dr. Gallen. He would like to meet with me regarding the letter we sent them, regarding the water control taxes. What I would like to do is set up a meeting, maybe with me and Mike, if it's all right with the council, and we will discuss both items. We'll discuss, if it's all right with everybody, the OHME, because if both of our committees recommended the paving to collecting. Is that proper to do those, Mike, or just
Well, no,
the one at a time?
You're only, the college is one of the 3 properties. But I think the planning and zoning board recommendation was to have the transition before collecting down, not to pay.
Oh, okay.
So.
At the entrance to the two.
It's only going to go, if you remember halfway up about, there's going to be a cross entrance into the college and then across there. It's up to that point that it's going to be FDOT and then north.
Then let me back up and find out as far as we meet regarding the taxes on the drainage taxes.
We have available.
Okay. You and I maybe get together afterwards if it's all right with the town. Everybody all right with that?
Yes. And I just want to ask, Ron brought up, Vice Mayor brought up an issue of timing for the legislature. Given the fact that right now your next meeting is in November, I think Assuming the district does take action in a week or so that wants to involve the town, I'd like to have the ability to discuss with Mary or what that is they're proposing to do so that you can give direction, full direction in your November meeting. Because I would expect that you would want to see whatever you were supporting in the form of proposed legislation.
Oh,
The conversation at the RGC actually involved us having a meeting this month, us and them. The problem, John wasn't available for our regular second meeting then, so they suggested we pick an alternative date.
Well, if you set it for a special meeting, that's fine too, but your November 5th meeting would be where I would think that would where we would need to have confirmed at the very least the proposal that you would support.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would need to have a meeting to discuss that.
okay. Do we want to set up a special meeting for that?
Whatever we need to do, I mean, Mike kind of bringing it up, sounds like it's because of the issue of time. So what do we need to do?
It was requested by John and I and the water district that we have this meeting. Of course, the juxtaposition of our meetings was us the first talking about it. Assuming that they agree to have a meeting, my suggestion would be why don't we have a meeting on whatever that next Tuesday is, the fourth Tuesday.
So we're not be able to make that. We're not be able to make that.
Or you can find that out.
All right, what do we need to do to look at this meeting? That, you know, that we can't do it the fourth Tuesday, per se, we can't do it.
Well, you don't have anything on your motion tonight to take action on, but, you know, decisions will have to be made if you're going to join the district in proposing legislation, what that legislation would be, how you would process it, who you would use to process it.
Okay.
I would not expect that you would support legislation you haven't seen and approved at a meeting, and if there's deadlines in November, that means the work will need to start this month.
So if we basically by consensus allow you to meet with Mary Vitor and kind of work all those details out, come back to us at the next October meeting.
November, well, unless you have a special meeting.
I thought we had a second meeting in October, but no second meeting in November or December.
No, we're gonna try to do no second meetings for the rest of the year, but you can't do it, I mean,
When did we decide that?
last meeting.
There's no meetings the rest of the year, second meeting?
It'll report to you, you all went okay.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I know we talked about, you know,
I don't remember deciding, that's what I'm asking.
in November, December, I think that's.
But nevertheless, we're at the point where they would like to have a meeting this October, so that makes that a moot point. We can have one. The problem is if we have it on the second meeting of October's normal date, John Ryan will not be available. He requested we do it on a different date.
We can do it on the 22nd, which is the fourth Tuesday. We can do it on the 16th, which is the third Wednesday.
You know, we can't do it on Wednesday.
John's out of town that day.
So
Is out of town that day?
Yeah,
the
The
fourth-
17th,
the
we
fourth
have-
I think he's back to Thursday or something.
How about the fourth Tuesday?
I would not be able to.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
And just one question, and John may have to get up here to answer it, but this is an important meeting now. If John feels like it's more important that it happens and he might not be able to make it, I would just like to hear from him. I think it's very important that we have a meeting, and I think somebody from the district could represent John. Not as good as John, but they could represent him with his notes and stuff. But
When are you available, John?
I'm out of town on the 15th and 16th. We looked at the dates, and I think we slipped into the next week, as Tom was saying, and that looks like a problem for Mike. What we were talking about was a joint workshop, and between now and the joint workshop date, having the council direct Mike, as he requested, to work with Mary Vitor on a draft local bill to accomplish the objectives that he discussed at the IGC meeting and that Tom summarized. So the direction to Mike to work with Mary is something that y'all would confirm, I would think, by consensus tonight. And the idea of the workshop was to have a full discussion among both our board and town council. It was a public meeting, public, input. You can't make decisions at that meeting, but we thought it was, something where we needed to have a full discussion. And the idea was that the legislative delegation starts meeting in November. So we kind of need to set this in motion as soon as possible.
All right, is it possible to do it the fourth Tuesday, and then Mike get somebody else to maybe meet with Mary and represent your firm at that meeting? Because if we're not gonna make any decisions that night,
Right.
Well,
You know.
yeah, I mean, another attorney from my office can attend. I just, that's fine, and I could still work with Mary.
that's what
I
I'm
just could
thinking.
not physically attend the meeting on the 22nd, but another attorney in the office could do so.
Or the 21st would be open. Monday.
21st is,
Monday.
I hate to drift off from our day of our meetings. That's just personal, but,
I'll send another attorney.
can you be here Monday?
I could be here Monday, but, again, I hate, the fact you,
Ryan can't be here Monday.
you all need,
Well, the Monday, the 14th is the board
No,
supervisor.
it's on the 21st, John.
21st. We're talking 21st. All right. So everybody all right with the 22nd on this meeting? So it sounds like we need to have it. And there's still another week. It's not like the first meeting in November is the next week. So we've got a 2-week break.
And I will go to the meeting at the water district on the 14th and make the request that they meet with the council in a joint meeting on the 22nd.
All right. And we're going to direct Mike to meet with Mary. And try to
if I can just work with Mary on what the plan would be, I'd appreciate it.
Everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Nina?
Hi, Nina from Main Road. Just wanted to let you know on the road committee, your question regarding the transition from DOT to the OJEM. One of the suggestions we made with that was to go and give a choice of a turnaround of some sort. It doesn't have to accommodate trailers necessarily, but it is a UC entrance to the college. But there needs to be an option for people to realize this is not the way we want to go. We don't want to travel on further north. Let's turn around, go back up to Southern. And that was the idea behind it, to not cut through town and create another.
We originally talked about a roundabout there, didn't we?
There was some discussion about that.
The sign that says welcome to Los Angeles Metro.
Well, and then,
Oh, yes,
the place that we had brought up the sign was all the way down by Folsom for anybody that's coming that way. To come over on Folsom, those people that are coming out of Royal Palm Beach, coming over from Folsom and to Southern, and then shoot on west from there. Or if they manage to go over to Southern prior to that, we'd certainly be happy with that. In reference to the legal issues for both the boards, I think that at the last IGC, we had I just brought up that as we're working through this, that we please keep in mind, that the attorneys would keep in mind that we are looking for some control over the easements as well, to make sure that we don't have the issues with grants in the future. So if the direction can be of that, especially if they're working ahead of time, I very much appreciate it.
That's what Tom's talking about.
Okay, great, thank you. I just stepped in, so.
All right. Moving to full business, 10A, management evaluation.
Thank you. We had several different discussions on this particular item, so we tried to bring this forward. We're handing out a package tonight. And Mr. Mayor, you had requested that the management company attempt to come up with an evaluation form. So we have done that. And you see the form is the first item there. It's a 5-page evaluation form, and if you read down the columns, as you see, it is tailored to address all aspects of the town charter and management contracts. So at this point, we went ahead and I also attached to the evaluation form a full copy of the management contract with the town and then the charter. So at this point, again, the management company didn't feel like we were responsible for doing it, but you'd asked, we did it. Hopefully you like this. I think what this allows council to do is to rate the management company on all aspects of the contract and their charter. If you don't want to use this, that's fine. Pride will not be hurt, and then you can work on it some other way. But be happy to address any questions you have about it.
Okay. Any comments about probably need time to look at it first.
Oh, yeah, the intention's not to do it tonight, I was to get it to you, so you could,
Now, are you looking for them to complete it or just give you feedback on the form?
either way, I mean, it's,
That's what I want to make sure we're all.
Either way, we're not gonna do anything tonight. So, you know, okay.
Thank you.
Moving to 10B, vacant property. Rob?
This has to do with the vacant property registry. I mentioned it at the last council meeting, and what I'm trying to do tonight, I mentioned about a company coming and doing a presentation about how they function and stuff. And Mike, you had mentioned something about procurement policies and stuff like that, so I'm bringing it up tonight so that we can kind of give Mike direction. But hopefully this company can come and do a presentation November the 5th. He wasn't aware of the meeting in October that's coming up, so I don't know if he can make that meeting or not. Mike has dealt with this company, this person, Scott Blassie, in the past. He may know quite a bit about the company. But I'll let Mike speak if he's got anything to say about that. My concern is that on the back page of this, this company is just about working for, in Palm Beach County, they do Ocean Ridge, West Palm Beach, the County Commission, Boynton Beach, Royal Palm Beach, and the unincorporated area, which I'm assuming is Indian Trail and places, or anything unincorporated. What they explained to me over the phone in the first page kind of explains it also, and I'll put this into the records or give it to Mark so you'll have something to correspond with. Basically, this company takes care of anything, could be a foreclosure, vacant property, mainly. And we have about 48 properties right now in Loxahatchee, 48 or a few more that is listed as we have registered. The properties that the town already has registered, they get no money from that. Anything that they come up with, if they come up with 10 or 20 more properties that get registered, they get 50% of the fee. The mortgagees and the banks and stuff, they pay the town right now $150 for a registration fee for each vacant property. So basically, to me, we're not paying anything out of pocket. We would be paying, if they come up with more vacant property, we would be paying out of the revenue that's coming into the town. I've heard nothing but good comments from Royal Palm Beach, from Wellington. They tried to handle it on their own, and it was a nightmare. And some properties, they just never could make contact with who was responsible for it. This outfit does an outstanding job. I'd like to, my main concern tonight is I wanted the board to see what they do. I'd like to get them on the agenda for November to come and do a presentation. So I'm asking Mike, would that present a problem as far as the presentation?
Well, first let me just clarify, I know Mr. Blasey, when he was the Director of Code Compliance in Boynton Beach, where our firm was the city attorney, but I've not worked with this company or any company in Scott since he left. He's left in good terms, not like Scott. Just clarify that. The issue you have obviously is through the procurement code, not knowing the cost of the town, whether if there's a portion of revenue that otherwise is payable to the town that is a payment. It's just, you're netting something because they're locating it, but if, for example, our fee's $150 and they get $75, that would be a payment. It doesn't reach the thresholds for competitive bidding. I don't know, I'd have to look at that. The fact that they give a presentation, anybody's welcome, but I think it would have to be clear that it does not provide any avenue for them or any advantage to them in going through a selection process, because you all would have to direct some procurement of this service. Now, you do have in your procurement code the ability to do what's called piggyback. If on another contract with another city, if the other city gives permission or the contract allows for it, which is what we do, and we get the same or less prices in those places. So you can other government contracts under your procurement code if that was of interest. You also can waive it, or if it was a sole source, which those last two are probably going to be difficult to support. But anytime you bring a vendor in here to give a presentation, I would think from their perspective, there's an expectation of being able to do business with the town. So I guess my recommendation would be if you wanted to hear more about the company, then it may be clear to them that it's informational only. You haven't given any direction to use the service, to contract, to procure, or to do anything other than to provide you with knowledge of what is out there that you are not aware of. And with that would be the qualification to make clear to them if you wanted to hear directly from them, or if you wanted to see contracts from other cities. You could direct myself or Mark to obtain those to see if any of them allow piggyback.
Tom?
I would be more inclined if I was convinced, which I'm really not convinced that this is a big need. I haven't heard Mark complaining or anybody complaining that this is really presenting a burden, but that's, if that was decided that it would. I would think that the best way would be rather than dealing with one specific company in here to give, and as, you know, Mike said, you know, that may give them the idea that they've gotten in, or may give anybody the appearance that they can go ahead and do a request, you know, where various people can make presentations, or, you know, make their, I don't necessarily want to say proposal, because I don't know how they qualify, whether it be a proposal or bid, whatever, but make their case, and then we would choose 2 or 3 people to do this presentation. Keep it fair. You know, one of the next things coming up tonight is the Inspector General. You know, the Inspector General likes procurement, and they like it to be done properly. Just picking somebody to come on in here and tell us about that is not necessarily what we got.
Okay, Ron?
I agree with Tom. Bring as many as you want on November 5th to do a presentation. Like Mike said, just make it known to them. Management can handle this. Make it known to them that they're just coming here to give us an update, educate us on how this works. They're not going to expect any special privileges or anything like that. But I want him to come on November 5th, and anybody else we can drum up. And I was told that nobody else, but and Mike may help me here. He may know other companies, or Mark may know other companies, but I was told that locally there's nobody else that does this. But I could have been misled. So no, the more that comes in, it's better for the council. In other words, everybody may be doing the same thing. It sounds like there's a process that they do where they get 50% of what they find. Okay, and it surprised me when he told me that the 48 that we've already got, that he don't expect anything out of that. So no, I can go along with Tom, but I want him to do a presentation on November the 5th, and hopefully Mark will have other people who will be able to come and do a presentation for the benefit of the council. So do I, well, I'll put it on the agenda, but do I need direction as far as the council goes to make sure it gets put on the agenda? And Mike, you made a comment about piggyback. First of all, I don't have to guess about piggyback. They can piggyback, and they can piggyback from Royal Palm Beach. They can piggyback from Wellington. They can piggyback from Palm Beach County. So that's an answer I know. I don't have to research it. And you said that if they piggyback, then basically that eliminates the procurement.
Well, it doesn't eliminate. It's an option under your procurement code.
Okay.
And as far as direction from the council, it depends. I don't think that you need direction from the council to put an item on the agenda. It's just that what is the item going to be? If it's going to be so that we can understand what it is and prepare for it too, because there's certain rules as far as procurement. Tonight, you're not making any decisions on procurement. You're making decisions whether to go forward, possibly to explore the possibility of procuring. This would be what you wanted. This would be part of your information that you would use to give direction at the next meeting when you want to explore this further. But
well, I guess what we need to know, right way. I guess what we just need to know from y'all is, how do we put it in words so that we can get it put on the agenda, him or anybody else that wants to come, so we can satisfy.
I mean,
In other words, I'll give all the information to Mark. Do we need to direct him to, and I'll be putting him on the agenda, so, I mean.
well, you had a comment from one councilman, you know, what you accepted as far as other folks being out there. It seems that the council may want to, if you want to give us directions so we make sure we do it correctly. But, you know, the point is tonight, you're not to make any direction on even to procure it because it wasn't under the published agenda.
Sure. It sounds like it's a two-step, it sounds like it's a two-step process. The first step, that the Vice Mayor is referring to, is having this gentleman come and explain what his company does, because it is a newer type of service. The concept. We make it very clear to him, this is not the, any way, shape, or form procurement at this point. And then, I guess, if you make a determination that it's something you would like to pursue, then I guess it falls back on me and Mike to look at the proper procurement and how to do it. See if anybody else is out there that does do it.
Yeah, Rod?
One thing we could possibly do to ease our hesitation about issues with following procurement procedures is, I don't think there's anything against the rules for us to look at the contracts that Royal Palm Beach and Wellington and Palm Beach County has with them and just see what their contracts are. If that's amenable to us, we could put an RFP from there.
Yeah, those are public records, so you're welcome to review those and get an idea what it is from those.
We want to wait for the presentation till the RFP?
Yeah, I think we need to determine whether we need it or not. So if we have one company come and just explain what they do, you know, then we can decide, you know, okay, maybe this is something we want to pursue.
Yeah, I would view it from instead of what their company does, what the service is and how it can serve the town, as opposed to their own capabilities to do it.
Yeah.
See what you want to see whether this is a need.
What are the terms of the contract we're going to be figuring out?
You wouldn't do that tonight or next week.
We wouldn't make any decisions tonight, but the way I understand you, Mike, is basically he can come and do the presentation, and then we can decide from what he tells us about what they do.
What that service the town needs, and then if you decide it's a service the town needs, how you procure it.
Yeah, that is definitely a fact-finding mode, because I will tell you that the OIG has been having presentations to the city managers across Palm Beach County. We've already attended one on contract monitoring, one on audits, and one on investigations.
Sure.
And the next one coming up is November 14th, and that's a two-part presentation on piggybacking and on the South Bay issues that have occurred as far as their investigations on the South Bay. So I don't want to put words in the OIG's mouth because it's not for me to do that, but I do know I'm not going to use the word frown, but they want the city to be very careful with piggybacking. I mean, you can do piggybacking, I think it's a legal procedure, but I think what the OIG is looking at, they want to ensure that people are getting a fair shake in the procurement process. So they have their own thoughts and observations related to piggybacking and how you do it. And I think that's what I'm going to find out when I go on the 14th, which will probably be helpful in the mix of this total fact-finding as it relates to this service.
The spirit of the law, basically, piggybacking eliminates the competitive bidding. You know, because you're automatically, well, my neighboring community used him, we'll use the same contractor, the same deal. And, you know, it really could be, really cut some people out of that. So
Limits competition.
yeah, so if it's just an informational,
Informational fact-finding on the service and the potential need of the town, as opposed to what this specific company does and how it does it. I think that might be useful for you to decide whether you need it and then how to procure it.
my experience is limited, but in going through as trustee of my mom's estate, I get a lot of calls from these companies, and what they do is try to locate stock that they hope you don't know about, and then they take 25 to 30% right off the top, and they're very, they don't want to tell you who it is, but they'll tell you what it's worth and kind of dangle a carrot, and they start doing it long before you have the ability to go through and contact all of them, and so I don't know that I'm wild about the idea, but anyway, we'll look at it for information.
Okay. So we'll make it clear that they're coming only for informational purposes and not bring, company brochures and sales as opposed to their service versus ours.
All right, and then,
Sales commission.
One other thing, Mayor,
Jim.
my perspective on piggybacking, I hear what you're saying. The assumption is that we're looking at somebody that had already gone through the process of evaluating through an RFP and looking at pricing and availability and the ability to provide service. And then you find that same company, or some municipality has done that, and you take advantage of that in that they've gone through the process that we would go through. So it does steer you to a particular company, but you can also look back at what they've done and who they selected from and who they saw and decide on whether you want to piggyback. And so it could be a very helpful process, and I would think that something like that would be acceptable to IG.
And that's why you have it in your code,
Okay.
give you that option.
All right.
And one last comment about piggybacking. Usually municipalities, the water control district has done it a couple of times, but usually you piggyback to save the residents money. I mean, very seldom have I seen, well, I've never seen it where they piggyback and it actually cost the residents more than if they would have went out for bid. Of course, now somebody else may have had the experience where it did cost them more by piggybacking, but piggybacking can be very beneficial to the residents.
Okay, moving to 10C, Ron.
Saving this for last because this is one of the reasons why I think that we need, no matter who it may be, we need a registry company to take over our vacant property registry list and stuff. We're over, since 2008, I apologize for being a little long-winded on this, but the owner of the house at 2380 C Road, just north of Okeechobee, east side of the road, back when Frank Spence was here. This started about 2008, where we had a problem with the owner of the house. He was making crack. House caught on fire. Nobody's ever been in it since. Okay, it's still wide open. No windows, no doors. Supposedly there's after the last council meeting we had, the town got a letter from a guy that supposedly is occupying this. Well, he don't occupy it full time, but the letter was addressed to the mayor, and I need to read this to you. I've been occupying the property at 2380 C Road since July 2012. Now that's a little over a year ago. All right. As you well know, the property was abandoned, and we do know that the property was abandoned. We did have. At my research, it took me a while to get somebody to help me, but I found out that this town had a magistrate hearing about the subject, and we've got a lien of approximately cut and dry $116,000 against this property, and we were supposed to. The magistrate ruled that for every day after this hearing that this was not corrected, it was $100 a day. So they probably owe the town more than what the property is worth. Okay, my main concern is that since 2008, this property is still like it was then. And I've got people in here and people in the neighborhood that want things like that cleaned up. They're dangerous, they're unhealthy. And let me finish with this letter. The property also suffered a fire damaging the walls and parts of the ceiling. My intentions are to rehabilitate the property and make it my home. Now this licensed contractor, he lives out of Miami. His address is 8210 Bryan Avenue, number 17, Miami Beach, Florida. He didn't put a phone number on here. When people communicate with me, I like to have their phone number so I can call them back, okay? Even though I am a certified general contractor, and before I commit more dollars and personal time to this project, I would like a building official to inspect the house and tell me what I can or cannot do to put this up to code. Now, the contractors that I know, they don't call the county building inspector out to tell them what needs to be done. They do they do what needs to be done, and then the county inspector comes out to make sure they did it right. All right, and the other point is, this man's been living in this house since July 2012. Now, I know he hasn't been living in it, but that's what he's saying in the letter. Okay, he does a little bit, he's what I call a squatter, okay? He wants that house property for next to nothing. And if he gets that house or property for next to nothing, that means this town and the taxpayers in this town don't get nothing from it. And like I said, him being a general contractor, that kind of made me laugh a little bit. Your guidance will be fundamental to the success of this project. I stand ready for an appointment with your staff so we can work together in bringing the property back from neglect and converting it in an asset to the town of Loxahatchee Groves. I'm sure he really wants it to be an asset to us, and he doesn't want to make anything off of it. Pardon me for the comments, but that takes a little bit longer. Best regards, Pedro Furtado. Use my email for any communications. Now, back to the magistrate. This house belongs to Antonio Alonso, and he was the one that was supposedly messing with the crack house and different things. All right. On November the 16th, final order and hearing held on November 16th, 2011. No evidence was presented by or on behalf of the respondent at the November 16th, 11 final certification, final order hearing. And basically, the next thing is just telling based on the official records of Palm Beach County description of the property and stuff, and explaining that. Final order was entered on September 10th, 2008. This is when the guy first started getting violations, 2008 now. The notice of violation issued in this case on or before October 10th, 2008 compliance date, failing which a fine of $100 per day per violation may be assessed. In addition, the final order assessed the town's administrative cost incurred was $400. The order finding violation further provided that if the violations were not corrected to the satisfaction of the town on or before the compliance date established in the order finding violation, procuring fines together with the assessed town's administrative costs would be scheduled for certification as a lien of the town at a subsequent duly noticed public hearing. Now, one thing I checked into was, the town did not file this with Palm Beach County. If they foreclosed on this house and we had not filed, we wouldn't get nothing out of it. That's what I was told. Mike could help me out there, he may not know, but but the first thing I checked on was did we file, and we didn't file. Now the rumor has it that the bank or mortgagee is in the process of doing a foreclosure. Now, according to the guy that's living in it, apparently he hadn't heard that yet. Violations included those related to Loxahatchee Groves Municipal Code, Chapter 14, such and such. As a result, the fines for the violations continue to occur and will continue to occur at the rate established in the order finding violation. It is hereby ordered and adjudged based on the failure to the respondents, $100 per day. Total amount of the accrued fine plus accrued interest, administrative costs, in the amount of $113,600 is here certified as a lien in favor of the town. After a certified copy, this order is recorded in public records of Palm Beach County, so that worried me. I didn't know, but we did certify it, we did file it. This order shall constitute a valid lien in favor of the town of Loxahatchee Groves, Florida, against the land which the violations exist and upon other real or real property owned by the respondent. The town shall have all enforcement rights as provided in section such and such, as amended from time to time, including the right to collect or procure interest, reasonable attorney fees, and court costs. And this verdict was given on the 16th day of November 2011, and here it is, 2013. The house is still the same. Now for a while he was cutting the grass and cleaning up a lot of trash around it. Well, I took a picture a couple weeks ago. Now he may have mowed it since I took a picture and since I complained. But now the grass is back up to 5 and 6 foot tall. Apparently he's too busy with his contracting business, he hadn't had time. So that's one reason why, and it's nothing against management. Management has their hands full doing a lot of things, okay? They don't need to be messing with this vacant land registry and stuff. We need a professional to come in. We need something done about it. So a couple questions to Mike I have is, if you don't mind, is what can the town do?
Here, let's get a few comments before we go farther, right? Tom?
First, I think the most simple question, if we're gonna ask Mike and Mark a question, is if there is a valid lien, what are we doing about foreclosing that lien and how to move forward and do that? However, before we think that it's a logical conclusion that we need a vacant land registry, well, there's $100,000 and something here that we don't need to split with this guy. Maybe we should let them get on it and figure that out, because that would be maybe something we ought to do. So before I as quickly like to give away 50 grand, I think for 50 grand of savings, we could let them do it. But I would like to know if we've had a lien since, as Ron said, back in 2011, what's normal process to get our money collected?
Just now that I listened to all the vice mayor's information, I do know superficially and what we're talking about here. This is the Alonzo property. And you may remember, and this is one of those that almost, it's not as bad as Valley Crest, but you had a different magistrate back in 2008. When our management company came on board, as you know, there was a backlog and we weren't having the special magistrate. We resurrected those meetings, and Beverly Two's firm went ahead and picked it up and took it to the magistrate. And then we had the certification on 2011, as the vice mayor has indicated. I have been visited by a gentleman, I believe his name is Jack Minnick, if I'm remembering correctly. He wanted to come in, and he was concerned about the property, and he was going to go out there, and he was talking about raising it or doing. I said, please don't do that. Don't take the law into your own hands. Let's work through the system first. And when Beverly and I looked at possible solutions, we did call Mike on it, and we did have one or two discussions about what would be the proper legal process to go ahead and try to move it forward, since it has been November 2011, and obviously the situation still exists. And I think we're still looking at that to some extent. I don't want to speak for you, Mike.
Well, answer to your question, the lien is recorded. Okay, the next step, after it's been recorded for 90 days, you can ask the special magistrate to authorize the town to foreclose its lien. Okay. Before that's filed, though, I would expect it would come to town council to actually authorize the lawsuit, because it's an expense. The part you have to understand is that if there is a foreclosure, if there is a mortgage on the property, regardless of whether, if we recorded our code lien after that mortgage was recorded, we would foreclose subject to that mortgage. So if we got title and we sold it, we would be saddled with paying that mortgage off. If there's a mortgage foreclosure pending, it would be foreclosure or lien because it was recorded afterwards. Obviously, if you can convert these orders into personal judgments and then collect them like any other judgment, that's also a lawsuit. And they have to be collectible. On the code enforcement aspect, if there is a foreclosure case, if I get the name, the information, and send me a copy of the order, we might be able to find the docket and see if there is actually foreclosure, where it is in the process. And then, in some cases, we've been successful in getting involved in those to push the bank to finish the foreclosure quality. Those are kind of two options. That you could foreclose it on your own to see if that pushes action, or you could get involved in the foreclosure somehow and push the bank to finish it if there is a foreclosure.
What rights would this guy have that's coming in and claims he's been living there?
He doesn't have any, I don't know if he has any rights. My experience has been that, building officials and building permits are not issued without the authority of the owner.
Right.
And we've seen documentation that's been provided. I haven't seen it in a long time because the laws have been updated. But where someone files this notice of intent for adverse possession. And you're supposed to take that and say, oh, great, you're gonna take adverse possession, here you go, get your permit. And we said, no, you're not issuing it. It has to be the owner, it has to have some indication from the owner. And I would expect that before our building department, which is the county, issues building permits through applications, they would need to verify that the owner is on board, which isn't going to be the case if this owner is nowhere to be found. So,
They would also have to come through us for planning and zoning review, so we would have an inkling of.
and if the bank was made aware that there's a person claiming ownership on a piece of property, you know, maybe they would push it, maybe they wouldn't. We could maybe use that information and share with the attorney. So, you know, the first thing I could do is, without spending much time, is just confirm whether there's a foreclosure, what the stage of it is.
Has the town condemned this property?
Okay, well, let me address that. Mike and I have been, Beverly too, we've been working on that situation. The interlocal agreement that the town amended with the county in 2011 basically addresses only what's considered to be in-progress inspections. Basically, when somebody's coming in with building permits to do some kind of work, whether it's a new structure, modifications, and basically we review the planning, goes to the county. Under the agreement, the county keeps all the fees, and they do all the inspections and the plan reviews, etc.
Please.
The problem that we have noticed in the agreement is it appears that the county, in the agreement, indicates they're not going to do any other form of building official duty. And with some other issues that we're dealing with, I have concern with that because I felt that our hands were tied if we don't have the ability to use a building official, or because only a building official can take certain actions. It can't be Beverly too as a code inspector, etc.
Can't be you.
So I have provided Mike with the interlocal, and I've asked him to take a look at it. We just haven't had a chance to get back and talk about it some more because I want to determine if we have a problem. I know that's a long and windy answer to do we condemn it, but that's the reason. I'm not sure we have the ability.
We would have to contact the county and have them initiate.
We're not going to do any action tonight because we just saw it tonight. So why don't we direct staff to look into this and come back with a report? Because, I mean, it's 10 minutes till 10, and we got a long way to go tonight. So, I mean, we're getting bogged down in this stuff that wasn't part of the agenda. Ron?
First of all, Mayor, I disapprove. Okay, Mark signed the special magistrate in November 16, 2011. Now, if he's been checking into it, come on, there comes a time.
No, I'm not
Okay,
saying
no. Okay, let me know. What I'm saying tonight is we need to direct staff to do something about this, okay? The residents that live on C Road, there's some of them aren't here tonight, but the ones that live on C Road, they're tired of looking at this. It's not only a dangerous hazard, and Tom's comment about the money. First of all, over a year ago, I asked why it was not on the abandoned property list. Now, maybe I don't see the people living in it, okay, but it's abandoned, okay, it is still not on this list. We just paid, not too long ago, back in April, I think it was, Frank went around and checked all the homes and stuff on this registry. Cost the town $900, and it's still not on the list. So I have a problem with us not doing something about it, but I'm only one council member. Okay, we've got over 100, we've got more money lien against this property now than the property's actually worth. So what I want to hear is not that we research it, I want to hear the things that we can do about it. I want to hear if the council can do something about it and approach the county and tell them that we're serious about this. If county can't help us, then why are we going to approach them? But this property needs to be condemned. The bank or whoever owns this property, they need to know that they owe us money, and they need to decide on what route they're going to take. Now, I believe we got either $36,000 or $50,000 from Wells Fargo, the deal there. Can you help me out with that, Mark?
It was about $35,000.
Okay, now what was our lien on that?
It was, as I remember, it was $34,000 and change, and there was also administrative costs down
Okay, $34,000, and we got it, okay? Now, maybe we can't get this, but we got it from Wells Fargo, and now we're talking almost $200,000 worth of liens that this bank, whoever owns this property, they owe this town. So I don't think we need to do any research. I think we need to be told how we can make this work and take care of it right now. And that's why I put it on the agenda tonight, because if I don't put it on the agenda, then we can't make a decision as a council. So I make a motion, and that'll save us a lot of time. I make a motion that we proceed to take care of this problem, ever how it can be, notify who owns it, tell them how much they owe us, and come up with a conclusion of what they plan on doing about it. That's the motion I make.
All right. I thought we were not going to make motions on things that were presented the same night. We could discuss them.
Okay. No, and you're right. No,
So, I just want to do it according to our own rules.
Right, you're right, Mayor, because this was up for discussion. Pardon me, I made a mistake. So I'll put it on the next agenda ahead of time, and we'll make it.
We'll have all the information for you.
Yes,
I hope so.
Yes. Jim?
Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, I've had a lot of experience in this kind of a problem, where what I have found is the best thing is, as Mike was commenting on, is you move along, you help to move the mortgage company along to do the foreclosure process, and they supersede your liens, you get nothing. If you go ahead and pursue this and take ownership, and you turn right around, you're gonna have to give the property back, and you're gonna get nothing out of it except the cost of pursuing it. But if you can get the bank, we used to have a heck of a problem. It would take them 2 years. This is obviously taking longer. And taking a house that was dilapidated, and all we want to do is make it look, somebody take it over and fix it so the community didn't look like crap. But in all cases, there was never anything we gained by it, just cost. So if we can move the process along by some incentive to the mortgage company, that's the best we're going to get, because clearly the property, no matter what that mortgage was, I don't think it's worth $30,000. But, point being, I don't think we have any possible gain on this particular case, but we could see if it's on the docket, we could see what we can do to help move along, get it closed, change hands, and somebody come in and do something with the property. And because obviously this has been a big headache for many, many years, and for all the people on Sea Road. So I guess we're like Mike to do what he can and see what he can find out about what we can do to move this along, so we can get this thing under somebody else's ownership and correct it. I think that's the best we can do.
Okay, one last thing. Is it possible that it rates to be put on this list, like Tom said? We don't have it on the list, and we do hire a firm in the near future, he will get 50%. And basically, the registration people, they don't get 50% of the lien and stuff. They get 50% of the registration fee. He'll explain all that to you. So, but I do think we need to get it put on this list, so is that not possible?
I have to check into it. I don't know why it's not on that list. It may have just been an error, but we'll check on that.
All right. I've got 2 comment cards. Can we do them at the comments by the public later on, or do you need to, got one from Ken and one from John?
I can fill a lot of blanks.
What's that?
I can fill a lot of blanks.
All right, well, Ken Johnson first, and then John.
Sorry, John. Ken Johnson, Electric Canal, Mr. Mayor and council members. The only thing I've got to say about 10B, about the vacant properties, it sounds as if we can get the right firm, not saying that the firm that was mentioned is the right firm, but it could be some profit for the town to help the town reduce our taxes. So that's what I'm saying, that needs to be explored, because that could be profit that we can take in. As far as 10C, it sounds like and I have not seen the property, but it sounds like the condition of the property, it should be raised, should be demolished. I mean, it should be bulldozed. And if we can get some money out of it, there again, it's going to reduce our taxation. So I think that needs to be explored too. Thank you.
Thank you, John Wright.
John Ryan, 3508 A Road. As luck would have it, I ride through the roads on Sunday, see what needs to be done. And I saw a motorcycle in the garage of this abandoned property. So I stopped. And I did meet Mr. Furtado. And, you know, I basically said, you know, look, the town has taxes that they're interested in, and code liens that they're interested in, and the district has its assessments that we're interested in. And I said, what kind of documentation do you have? And he showed me a file, so I can answer some questions. The mortgage lien is $260,000. It's held by LaSalle National Bank as a trustee for a pool of mortgages. They did file a foreclosure proceeding, but they have dismissed that. And the reason they dismissed it is they don't see a way to recover any meaningful amount of money from an abandoned, fired, burned out property where it's already in violation of codes. My experience with the FDIC is we withheld foreclosures in certain circumstances like this because it would cost more money to complete the process, take over a property that you know is already under liens and would probably be reinstated. The thing the town could do is that if they proceeded to work with the county and get some threat to demolish the property, to demolish the improvements, what the mortgage company would be looking at is a 1 acre property. That's all it is a 1 acre property. And if the structure itself is torn down, what they would have is 1 acre with a destroyed or demolished building, with weeds growing up in a rural community and no use or recovery. But if the town threatens to demolish the structure, that could force the mortgagee to try and preserve some recoverable value out of the property. And I don't think we ought to spend a lot of money, because if we foreclosed our liens, we foreclose them subject to $260,000. And the bank is just sitting there with a lien wanting to recover some money. So what might happen is if this guy is legitimately interested, he or his attorney may make an offer to buy a worthless property from the bank for a nominal amount of money. And then he could do something, you know, with us with regard to the liens if he thought he could recover something. It looks to me like, and I did go through the structure, and Frank Shiola went through it, and it looks like this guy has really cleaned it up. It's going to have to be rewired, replumbed. Some of the roof decking would have to be replaced, but the structure looks to be in decent shape. But I don't see this guy spending any more time and money with it. And I think the only way we get this thing moving is to work with the county or whoever we need to work with to threaten to demolish this structure. Notify the mortgagee that this is what we're doing, because it's an attractive nuisance. It's not secured. You know, it's sufficiently open that kids can go in there, homeless people could go in there. This guy doesn't live there. He doesn't need to live there under the adverse possession statute. He just has to do some constructive maintenance on the property. And he showed me the notice he filed with the property appraiser in July 2012, where he was setting in process a 7-year period to claim adverse possession at the end of it. Now, the guy is actually a Wellington resident who moved to Florida. I don't know how he got involved in this property. He seems to be just scavenging for something to recover some money on it. But I think from the town standpoint, about the only thing we could do to move it forward is threaten to demolish it and know how we can get that done and advise the mortgagee so that they complete the foreclosure. The reason they don't want to become the owner of this property via foreclosure is they don't want any responsibility to maintain it. We don't see a way to sell it.
All right, John, if you could get that information to them as far as the mortgage holder.
I would just say that's some very interesting fact, because number one, we're not aware of any requested permits by this gentleman coming in to do any work that we've looked at, whether it's gone through Palm Beach County. Secondly, the issue, and it gets back to the research that Mike and I have to do, is that the only person I'm aware of who can declare a structure unsafe and for the purposes of demolishing it is a building official, of which we're not sure we have capability to do that right now. And then that's usually done through an unsafe structures ordinance, which we don't have in place. So there are some things that we really have to look at to make sure we're proceeding properly from a legal standpoint.
Okay. All right. Any comments? All right, so you're going to come back, we'll put it on the agenda, come back next week.
Maybe we'd like to add unsafe structures to the ULBC or something.
Yeah. I think that, maybe, you know, that would be a good thing for ULBCs.
Okay.
You know, and, all right, and then the other thing we could do, to keep us out of the mix, the county sometimes uses threshold inspectors, require anybody doing construction in Wasatch Groves to have a threshold or their own inspector, you know, and then we would not have to provide a building official and never have to hire one or whatever, but later. Okay, moving to new business, A, Office of Inspector General. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. In your packet, you will see you have 3 attachments, August 28, 2013 letter from Mayor Stephen Abrams to Mayor Ryan. That was the handout we gave you last week, or I'm sorry, last meeting that we said we were going to bring back. A draft model agreement for OIG funding, and then the section 2-429 financial support and budgeting of the OIG office. What has happened is, as you know, in the county, 14 cities have filed a lawsuit against Palm Beach County Road because of the way funds are collected regarding the funding for the OIG. And the Palm Beach County Clerk and Comptroller basically has the funds that have been paid at this point in time. For example, the county has advised us that we paid our fair share of $481 in 2011 and $468 for the first quarterly payment in 2012. The issue was they had sent a letter similar to this, but not the same thing. I think it was Commissioner Van at the time. And we didn't exercise that. There was a concern that what would happen to the funds if we had paid them, considering that we had this lawsuit going on. Well, since that time, in a year, 3 municipalities have agreed to meet their funding obligation out of the rest of the 17, 20, 21 municipalities. And so they're taking another stab at it with this agreement. And they're asking that we would go ahead and pay the amount of $2,218 annually. I think it would be a good gesture if we did this, but what I've done is I've recommended that if you feel you want to go ahead and enter into this grant agreement, we have not amended the agreement yet. You know, it's boilerplate, so we would have to customize it, put in our names and that kind of stuff. But I wanted to have the council at least talk about it and see where they want to go. I know Mike has a few concerns relative to some of the language in the ordinance. So that's why I wasn't the agreement. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking for you guys to make an action tonight. Maybe just indicate in principle if you were interested, and then we would bring it back under our meeting in November as a consent agenda item if you felt so inclined. And if you can give Mike a second to describe what your concern is.
The only concern I have is there's a section in there that provides for credit for payments. Where the county reserves its right to sue us if by voluntarily making payments, it's not enough. I would think that if we were voluntarily making payments, they would release us from that. Or at the very least, it should be mutual that if we have overpaid, which it seems like based on previous calculations, $2,200 appears to be more than what the formula provided for, that we would get a rebate in that event. So I would want to approach the county with my concern about Section 5 on that. But other than that, it's a policy decision on whether you think it's appropriate to make the voluntary payment given the benefits that you might see from the OIG's office.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Jim?
I think we just leave it alone and give you guys any more work to do until something comes up and a larger number of people that are not party to the suit start stepping up to this, and we can look at that again. But for now, and I picked up on the same comments. I'm thinking this is crazy. For somebody saying, hey, volunteer, and then by the way, we can sue you. But I would say we just leave it alone. I don't see there's any need for us to move forward on this at this point. And from the information I've gotten, it's not necessarily recommended by our district, our commission.
Tom?
I don't know, I saw it as supporting the Inspector General. I would support doing it and having Mike at least discuss with them his concerns. Because I do believe, actually, unless you have specific personal knowledge, I do believe that this was what they wanted us to do.
And I was thinking just what it's to do, so I us to support this, but I really don't know. So might be something we need to look into and come back. Because I agree with the concept of the Inspector General. I think it's the only way we'll get over this, you know. The next item we're going to talk about, or one of the next items, has to do with something that we're going to them for help. So, you know, I believe it's necessary. But anyway.
Well, there's not a discussion, it's not the point of not agreeing or supporting OIG. That's not the point. It was how the funding is. A lot of discussion about this mechanism versus the concept of independence of OIG, et cetera. So before we go any further, I don't think we need to move forward on this. And I mean, I will get more specifics from Jess if that's a value, and I will have it at the next gathering.
All right, someone want to make a motion? I mean, you have the ability to.
I would make a motion that we have Mike proceed forward and bring us back to us.
Okay, second? Second. Okay, second by Ryan. Further discussion? All in favor? Oh, Ron?
I agree with Jim. We need to check. Jess Santa Maria is our district county commissioner, and nobody puts more into the communities than he does. Now, if he feels like that we need to go ahead and pay it, then I'm leaving the IG, but the IG, the commissioner, is the one that's done so much for Loxahatchee. Okay, so I would like to get his opinion before I'd like to leave it alone. Talk with Jess. It don't matter, Mayor, you can go see him, or Jim, or me, or anybody, but talk with him, and if he feels like we need to pay it now to show support, then we go ahead and pay it. We're going to table it until the next council.
I'd like to do a motion to say something.
If you want, I can call Johnny and see if I can set something up for the commissioner. You know, when if you get to Johnny, she usually gets you the access to him quickly. You know, I'm sure she may know, the agreement.
All right, right now we have a motion that Mike will look into it, and with input from us, we'll check with Jess and you know.
I would just stress the concern that I raised tonight.
Right. Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
What was the rest of what you said, I'm sorry? With input from Jess?
Yeah, in other words.
Separately.
Yeah, separately. We
One thing.
have the ability to talk to Jess and talk to him.
We have to approve the agreement after Mike works it out.
He's going to look into it and find out
If they're all willing to make a change.
Right, if it's beneficial, if we should do it, whatever, and then he'll go back with a recommendation.
Well, I think Ron was saying is what I was saying, we hold off on it, get the information from Jess, because there's no reason to spend any time on this if he comes back and we are in agreement that he says, hey, this is the wrong approach for these reasons. And I believe I heard that that was also the case, because this has been kicking around, this concept. This is not brand new. And that it was not something that was for the good of the OIG. It really wasn't, which is why he didn't support it. But I think we need to hold for him, hold off for this, get the input, and then we're better positioned. Why waste time on something that I think will turn around and say, we're not going to vote for this.
We have a motion.
I would say out of respect for the fact that we have the mayor of Palm Beach County send us this, we will work on it, as my motion was said, and if we find that Jess is opposed to it, then so much better, but there are 7 votes that we're going to be concerned about with this next act, right, not just one.
Yeah.
One quick. Did you say the mayor of Palm Beach County?
Mayor Abrams.
Yeah, he got himself that title.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, he's right, he changed his title.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Ron. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-2. All right, moving to Highland Dunes, PUD. We'll try to keep this short and sweet, if I could. I went down and met with the county commission on this. This happens to be a development of about 1,200 acres on Southern Boulevard. It was approved by the county commission in 2004 at a 1.65 density, which is basically double what the acreage is. So it's roughly a house on every 0.6 acres. So they're looking at 2,000 homes, 50,000 square feet of commercial. It lies 2.5 miles north of Seminole Pratt, and its northern boundary is to align with the potential Okeechobee. So they're going to be looking at that. So anyway, this is something that what I would like to do, and we'll discuss it, but I would like permission from y'all to meet with every one of the county commissioners. Sharon and I were there and found it very ironic that our friend Mr. Gilday had met with every county commissioner and called them and talked to them and, to get this thing through, and Jess called me on a Wednesday. This was slated for Thursday. And he called me on a Wednesday and said it was on the consent agenda, a project from 2004 that was slipped through on a consent agenda, and the county didn't even want to discuss it. There was not a county commissioner there that was even on that board in 2004. Some of them that went to jail because of that project, and they were going to slip it through on a consent agenda. So Jess got it pulled off the consent agenda. And we were able to get a 30-day extension. So I know the landowners have written letters regarding this project. I don't know that there's anything to do to stop it, but we can sure question the density, and we can sure question the fact that we were never notified as a town because we did not fall into that 2-mile radius that they said was all they needed. So 100,000 people live around them, and they notified 28 people. So, but anyway, that's what I would like to do. So right now, I'm going to kick it open for comments and see where y'all want to go.
That would be, I would agree with you, that's fine. I'm not in favor of it, but there's there's other things that are happening, and, we'll say, I'm not going to be here for the meeting on November when the PUDs come before the board. But, we have to think, what the heck do we think? A lot of people say, build it, come, prove it, and then they want to build it, and then they want to figure, well, we did this here. It's not a 3-sided road, it goes this way, so let's go west. So the more we approve from the standpoint of commercial and things like that, the more we're encouraging this and same craziness, the same attempt to build which is what they're aiming to build, just like Pine Boulevard in Brevard County, one after another after another. And it didn't take long when they did it either. It took 10 years, 12 years, and they were all the way out to the Everglades.
Okay.
We got plenty to do here.
Yeah. Ron?
Mr. Mayor, I think you're handling that just fine. I agree with you 100%. I'm glad you and John Ryan made that meeting. So now go ahead and continue doing what you're doing.
Okay. Right?
Yeah, I'm along with that comment, Ron. We definitely need to request that our input be involved, or at least considered.
Well, I support your idea. I just wanted to, better understand what your approach as far as what are you going to raise besides density. Is there anything specific, numbers or?
Two things, and I want to keep it very simple because of my audience. The density is very important to me because if they approve this at 1.65, we know that Minto at the Callery Judge property is already trying to double what the county allowed, and they're going for a 1.7. So it's basically the same thing. They're not the only game because we know that the Royal Palm cultivation has probably 7,000 or 10,000 homes of acreage out there, that they're looking at that. The old GL Homes thing, they're looking at that. So in effect, if that density holds, and all of a sudden they come and say, wow, that density, no problem with it, every one of those developers is going to want that density, and we will have double the amount of population to our west. Our fight on Okeechobee would change. Again, it's a county road. So all of a sudden, to me, it is probably one of the biggest fights we're going to have. So hopefully that, I'm going to hit on them from that aspect, that one of the reasons that density should reflect communities adjacent to you, and the closest community adjacent to them is Deer Run, that's 1 house per 5 acres. and Fox Trail, and I think they're 1 for 5. So, you know, all that is very rural, very large lot, and for them to come in at that point, and they're already talking about, well, you know, the widening of Southern, but also the potential of putting Okeechobee all the way through. And somebody mentioned to me, it's not just them. We have a large landowner out in the sugarcane land that someday will not be able to grow sugar, whether it's not subsidized anymore or many reasons. And you're right, he is going to want housing, and he would love to have Okeechobee go all the way to the S-curve. So,
Palm Beach aggregates too, they want to develop.
well, that's what this one is. This was Palm Beach aggregates.
But you're right, the price that Minto paid is double what the state bought the U.S. sugar land for. That's right. So,
They're one.
houses instead of sawdust.
And the county commissioners, one of the biggest problems is there, except for Jess, there's not one county commissioner that we can vote for. Or the person that's going to be running.
Hold it off.
What's that?
How long do you think you can hold it off?
They, you know what, in that meeting, I'll be honest with you, they gave us 30 days because every one of us spoke about it, but almost every one of them said, we're not saying we're against this project, but we're willing to agree to the 30-day extension. So, you know, we can't promise anything. I would suggest we get as many people to the county commission meeting as we can, but I will commit to you that I'll meet with the 7 commissioners and talk to them about it.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would add to your strategy would be that the council agreeing that if you need any resources like Mike or, you know, Paul and anybody that we have that's going to maybe cost us some money, that you go ahead and do that and have the authority that we would support.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody all right with that? I don't see it happening because I'm just going to go in there and try to talk to them.
Have you got a plan for the density?
What's that?
A plan for the density?
I think it should go back minimum to what the acreage is. You know, I mean, they're not going to go to 1 for 10. There's no way we can say we don't want the project. That's not going to happen. But if we can get it to go back to an acre and a quarter per house, we get half of the density, and then it gives us a fight against Minto.
That's what I thought. Memento, you know, the county did approve at one time in 1985, Century Village, where the school is.
Yeah, but we can go later than that. The county approved 2,000 homes for them in there. And Minto, or was it 4,000? Whatever it was, Minto's trying to double it. So 3,000? So they're trying to go to 6,000.
Mike,
And a million square feet.
what were you trying to say?
No, saying appreciate that in case the mayor needs to call
Yeah.
and Jim as well as a planner.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Just
I've
keep
got,
in mind the perpetual golf course in Century Village.
yeah. Marge Herzog. Then I got John Ryan.
Mark Herzog, A Road. I was at that meeting where Sharon and Dave attended, and basically all we could talk about was asking for them to reconsider, you know, the amount of time and the vote at that day for the extension. When I got up, I did speak about the impact that development would have on Okeechobee. And my point to them was, were they going to consider making that development pay for lights along Okeechobee? And then at the landowners meeting, the landowners directed me to write a letter to the Inspector General and to write a letter to each of the county commissioners, which I did. And I got an answer from Mayor Abrams, who did say that he was forwarding it to the planning and zoning staff for review. And Mrs. Caldwell also said that she was forwarding it to county departments for review. And one of the things that she's going to have them look into is how effective is the notification system in the rural area. I mean, it may work well in the urban areas, but it certainly is very deficient in the rural areas because only 28 people were notified. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. And one other thing, Marge, with you speaking, That is a big concern, with the notification. The other thing, and I mentioned it to you, Mike, when I called you, and that was, they had abandoned, to give you a little history on this thing was approved in '04. They abandoned the development and reverted back to ag land. They put some sod farming in there, and they put some other stuff, so they got an ag exemption. And this was an abandonment of the abandonment. I mean, I thought that was really kind of ironic, which I would have thought if you abandoned the original approved construction and everything else, to come back 10 years later, why would they have had to apply everything? And to put it on a consent agenda, to me, was exactly what the Office of Inspector General should be dealing with, because to me, that was one of the most underhanded things I've seen happen in a long time. And but anyway, John Ryan.
John Ryan, 3508 A Road. Real quick, Mayor just made the main comment I was going to make for Mike. I would hope the town council would direct Mike to look at page 109 of 140 and review the history of approvals and abandonments and reversions back to agricultural usage. Because I think the only reason they would delay it beyond this 30 days is if legally they have messed up and would need to redo the process, application and approval. Now, I did glance through some of the staff report, and it was enlightening. They spent a lot of time reviewing this. It didn't just something they resurrected and said, let's approve it. They got in there in stages almost $10 million of contributions on Southern Boulevard improvements. And the thing that caught my eye is the last dollar amount that's scheduled for them to pay relates to expanding Southern Boulevard from 6 lanes to 8 lanes by 2021. So that's 8 years from now. They've got nice words in there about slotting out areas for workforce housing and schools and other things. But I think if we're going to make any progress in delaying this thing and getting input, real input is going to be if they have to restart the process and go through the mechanics, which will take some time and really expose the impacts so that we can make our voices felt. But the fact that it made it into the consent agenda tells me that, except for Jess, the rest of them are just inclined to do this and expand the tax base, and they're dealing with one of the most powerful people in Palm Beach County, Enrico.
Yeah, we don't want to call it names, but
Yeah.
So, thank you, John.
Anyway, I hope you would direct Mike to review using the legal argument to restart this approval process, so we've got more time than just the 30 days.
And I think that would be good to look into that, to find out what the precedent is for that, and to pop that thing back up. To me, it really reminded me, if y'all like football, of where there's a questionable call, and what does the coach want to do? Get off the next play. But if you get the next play off, then you can't argue. And so that's really, Jerry Kilday was adamant that he wanted to do it that day, that 30 days didn't matter. He wanted to do it then. So anyway, Nina Corning?
I think, Mr. Mayor, we suggested you have Mike's resource available if you just wanted to do that to tell him to.
Okay. That's right.
According to Road, without repeating too much of what has already been said and is very valuable, the rescinding of the project, if it has been formally rescinded, it does require a new application process entirely. So the other concern I have is, have we made contact with the other towns that are affected by this in order to collaborate with them against this development, or at least be able to change what this development looks like? And furthermore, how can we prevent them going on to Okeechobee if they've made contributions towards Southern? Is there something that they need to use Southern? Not that I want this development at all, but certainly we are going to be affected even further if they're going to be allowed to use other children. So I don't know what has been done. I've given the town some contact numbers for the county, and we dropped off whatever they had available for us that day. And Everglades law firm is something they're very familiar with this particular type of development out that way there. They are aware of the area. They fought and successfully in the past. And this is a very short time, 30 days. I mean, we have to get on the ball really fast, and this is another week already, it's going by. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions about this? Unless it is shown that it's illegal to resurrect this thing like that on such short notice, you know, I think it's going to come up to a vote in November. And, you know, so we'll do the best. All right, moving to public comments. I've got Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just heard Alan Dooms, Calvary Judge, extension of Okeechobee Boulevard. Mentioned it quicker, sooner than later. The 4-lane of Okeechobee. I respectfully request county management to place the controlled equestrian crossings on the agendas of the Planning and Zoning Board, of the Roadway, Equestrian Trails and Greenway Advisory Committee, and also Town Council to put this on an immediate agenda as our comprehensive plan 2.7.4 is the town shall investigate and implement all strategies to discourage cut-through traffic through our town. And the traffic light is deload, and these controlled equestrian crossings will do just that. If we become 4-lane, our town will be split, and there'll be a damage we will not recover from. So I'm for y'all to get these items on the agenda as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. All right, Town Attorney, Mike.
No additional report.
Okay.
Go Gators. It goes without saying.
They needed it.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, Town Council member, start with Jim.
Well, I have a question. We actually decided on the meeting, the second meeting in October. We made a vote on it, or we talked about it, or is this the meeting I missed? The three people on it? No, this was the last regular meeting? Which meeting?
There was a quorum here.
It was the meeting on the subject of our millage?
I asked you a question. In my manager report, I said, I'm going to attempt to keep the rest of the year to just one meeting, in October, November, and December. I said, if you have any problems with that, let me know. Nobody said they had a problem with it.
You said that in your management report?
Yes.
That's the official document to ask us to discuss among the council members? Or is it an agenda item? I would expect an agenda item if you want to change.
It's not an agenda.
No, well, that was not the means or the criteria.
You want to
We
be in
don't
one
do that.
meeting.
That's not the way to do it. You communicate with us, but that's not the way to say, hey, if you don't like something, come back and tell me,
I
because
have
I'm going to
standing
do it that way.
direction, I have
I'm
standing direction
speaking to
from you
about
guys
this.
to try to keep
It's
the meetings
not
in 1 month.
the way to do it. I was not given an opportunity to vote on it. And the council, if you talked about it by saying, this is what I want to do, if you don't want to do it, tell me, otherwise I'm going to do it, that's not the way we run this town. So as far as I'm concerned, we should have a meeting, another meeting in October. We got a lot of things on our plate.
All right.
I don't appreciate that being a mechanism that we decide whether we're going to have meetings or not.
Well, and I know we've been trying to get to one meeting a month.
Yeah, and we discussed, and he said it, no one said different. If you were sleeping, Jim, you know, everybody else heard it.
Let's be careful.
Well, the other part is, you know, we already have a second meeting this month, which is to do the water board meeting, which was the idea of the second meeting of the month, was to discuss special, separate items than having another one of these absolutely tedious meetings.
Okay, let's get back to our Comments by the councilman? Jim, you got the floor.
We're gonna have another meeting in October, which is a special meeting. That's fine. My point is, the mechanism to ask the council to make a decision does not come with a weekly update. And if the council thinks that's another way we should do that, then I would like to hear from the rest of the council that that's acceptable. That to me is more of what we've already had a number of problems with the town management deciding what they want to do, but not the council making the decision. There's too much of that going on. That's not acceptable to me, and unless the council tells me that's an acceptable way to run this community, that he tells us what he's gonna do, and we, by being quiet, accept that, then I want to hear that from the rest of the council. I thank everybody for coming, and there's quite a few people still here.
Okay, right.
Not too much. One thing I want to ask is, I'd like to request for the FACT committee to review, assuming the debt services for the Ocean roads that we've taken over, and then possibly having them make a presentation to the board. And on that, thank you for coming, go Gators, and
Okay, Rob.
Thank everybody for coming, sorry about being so late.
Okay, Tom?
On the subject of the management company managing the town, I think that's what we have in the agreement. And I think when they say things, and everybody sits here and acknowledges what they said, and then later on act like it didn't happen, if every single decision that has to be made in this town has to be made right here by this council, then we need a whole lot more money, and we need a whole lot more time. We need to have meetings continuously, because that's all Mark does every day. That's what we have staff for. And to sit and say, we're going to make every single decision, that's absurd, because we hired professionals for a purpose. And, various people voted for the very same professionals we have. I didn't vote for them, but I'm giving them a chance to do what they want. But the people that did vote for them seem to be the ones most dissatisfied with what they're doing. Now, we'll find out in this evaluation report what is that problem. And because I don't get it, and I don't understand it, and I don't see the problem. So maybe it can be articulated and see what it is, but, maybe if they were to meet with staff a little bit more often and find out what's going on, they might know what's going on. Instead of having a list of questions here to do in front of everybody, because I don't do my questions here in front of everybody. I'm not trying to cash them in gotcha. I could sit here with a whole list of questions of playing gotcha if I wanted to, but I don't need to do that, because I think it's very, very ineffective, and it's leading to a problem with the town council and a problem with the management, wherein certain people are trying to cause dissension. And I think that's inappropriate, and I see it weekly, and it's remnants of Frank Spence, the whole thing over again.
All right. In my comments, I would like to, in the future, probably after the first of the year, maybe set up, there's several people announced already for county commission. Jess is termed out. So I think it would be good to set up a meeting, maybe a special meeting for our town to meet the candidates after their filing date is closed, so we know who's running for that, and let them all come out here and talk to our town. And so, I don't know when their filing time is closed, but that's something I would like to see in the future. So anyway, thank you all for coming. Motion to adjourn.